Chapter 1669. Eight-legged lightning serpent array. 8 elders. Use the eight-legged lightning serpent array to take down this kid. However, be careful. This kid is very useful. Do you understand? Lei Qingtian said indifferently. Yes, Patriarch. The 8 elders behind Lei Qingtian cupped their hands together. Soon after, they rushed out. Dense thunderbolts erupted from each of their bodies, and they separated into 8 different directions. The 8 of them formed hand seals at the same time. Immediately, the lightning on their bodies became denser and denser. In the end, they formed a huge lightning serpent. This lightning serpent was thousands of feet long, and the lightning on its body was purple. It looked rather strange. Zhuowen's face was quite ugly. The 8-legged lightning serpent array was formed by 8 half-immortals. Its power was extremely close to an earthly immortal. If he wanted to resist the 8-legged lightning serpent array, he would probably have to use the 9th Yangdao sword. However, behind the 8-legged lightning serpent array was a genuine earthly immortal expert like Lei Qingtian. Even if Zhuon used the Azure Dragon Palace, it would be difficult for him to escape the Wind Thunder City that was sealed by the restriction. Kid, agree to her request. If I'm not wrong, Lei Tingqin should be suspecting that you have a part of the Wind Thunder sacred symbol. Also, do you know why Lei Sanyi has a connection with the lightning disk on Lei Tingqin's body? The lightning disk is a crucial part of Lei Sanyi. Once you obtain the lightning disk, your Lei Sanyi will become perfect. Just as Zhuon was about to resist, Xiao Hei's voice soundlessly sounded in his mind. At this moment, the 8-legged lightning serpent was completely formed. The serpent roared and its voice was deafening like thunder from the 9 heavens. However, just as the 8-legged lightning serpent was about to pounce at Zhuowen like a bolt of lightning, Zhuowen suddenly shouted, "Wait!" The 8 elders in the 8-legged lightning serpent array stopped and looked at Lei Qingtian as if they were asking for his opinion. Lei Qingtian nodded and said, "What? Have you thought it through?" However, Zhuon smiled coldly and said, "Miss Lei said that your lightning lineage has no ill intentions, so I'll believe you for now. After all, I have no intention of becoming enemies with your clan." Upon hearing that, Lei Qingtian's expression eased a lot. He smiled faintly and said, "Zhuo Xiaoyu, I'm impressed that you have such awareness. In that case, please come with us, Zhuo Xiaoyu." Zhuo Wen's expression did not change as he nodded his head and leaped onto the lightning plate. The moment he leaped onto the lightning plate, he could feel the excitement of Lei Sanyi, who was hidden deep within the lightning plate. However, he forcefully suppressed it. "Brat, leave Lei Sanyi's origin source to me for safekeeping." Looking at Lei Qingtian's group, I'm afraid they want to check if you have any lightning-attributed saint runes. After saying that, Xiao Hei in his sea of consciousness leaped and turned into a huge black dragon. Shortly after, it drilled into the depths of his sea of consciousness and swallowed Lei Sanyi, who was hidden in the depths of his sea of consciousness. After Lei Sanyi was swallowed, Yuan could not feel any fluctuation from Lei Sanyi at all. His hanging heart finally calmed down. After Lei Qingtian and the others left, Feng Tianhan muttered, "Even Lei Qingtian has come. Could it be that Zhuowen brought by Lei Tingqin is really not simple? Looks like I'll have to go back and report this to the Patriarch." In the gloomy pavilion, 3 figures slowly advanced. Lei Qingtian was in front, Lei Tingqin was behind, and Zhuowen was sandwiched between the 2 of them. The other 8 elders were behind Lei Tingqin. At the end of the pavilion, there was a rather dim hall. In the hall, there was a transportation array. The transportation array was formed by lightning and was rather gorgeous. Lei Qingtian did not speak along the way. He silently arrived before the transportation array and immediately formed a seal. Immediately, lightning flashed and turned into a lightning mouth, swallowing everyone in one gulp. As the lightning faded, Zhuon discovered that he was surrounded by uneven rock walls. He was in a rather large stone hall. In the middle of the stone hall, there was a huge stone tablet. The stone tablet looked ordinary. In the middle of it, there was a groove for a rune. Upon closer inspection, only half of the rune was left. There was a lightning symbol drawn on it. Lei Qingtian came before the stone tablet. His eyes were blank as he muttered, "Our lightning lineage has lost the lightning saint rune for too long. Although the Fenglei clan is the descendant of the Fenglei Emperor, the Fenglei Emperor is extremely biased. He left behind the cultivation method of the Wind Saint Rune but took away the cultivation method of the Lightning Saint Rune. Patriarch, this is actually the Fenglei Emperor's way of balancing the two factions. After all, the Lightning lineage was much stronger than the Wind lineage. If there is no balance, the Wind lineage is destined to be swallowed up. The Fenglei Emperor is from the Wind lineage, Lei Tingqin sighed. Lei Qingtian nodded and immediately turned to look at Zhuan. His eyes were burning as he said, Tingqin, you said before that the lightning disc had a reaction to this person. As far as I know, the lightning disc is the key to the cultivation method of the Lightning Saint Rune. In order to trigger the lightning disc's reaction, only the cultivation method of the Lightning Saint Rune can do it. Speaking of this, Lei Qingyan suddenly stared at Zhuan and said, do you have the Lightning Saint Rune on you? But Zhuan revealed a confused look and said, Thunder Attribute Holy Rune. I'm sorry, I don't know about it. I don't think I have such a thing on me. Lei Qingtian sneered and said, whether you have the Lightning Saint Rune on you or not, we'll know after a test. Tingqin, pass the lightning disc to me. Lei Tingqin nodded and passed the lightning disc to Lei Qingtian. Then, Lei Qingtian took the lightning disc and came before the stone tablet. Lei Qingtian made a gesture with his right hand and a powerful purple thunderbolt appeared in his palm. Then he sent it into the lightning disc. After the purple thunderbolt entered the lightning disc, it started to transform into the shape of the rune engraved on the stone tablet. Then, with a swoosh, the rune formed by the purple thunderbolt was embedded on the surface of the stone tablet. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Suddenly, lightning appeared on the surface of the stone tablet. The lightning became denser and denser, covering the entire stone tablet. It was as if there were countless cracks on the surface of the stone tablet. Zhuo Xiaoyu, put your right hand on it, Lei Qingtian said sternly. Zhuo Wen's eyes narrowed, but he was not afraid. He took a step forward and placed his right hand on it without the slightest hesitation. He only felt his right hand go numb. Soon after, a strange lightning light followed his palm and fiercely drilled into his body. It followed his meridians and began to swim around his entire body. The moment the lightning appeared in his body, Zhuan could clearly feel that Xiao Hei's body was twitching in his sea of consciousness. Xiao Hei, are you okay? Zhuan asked worriedly. Don't worry, I won't die. It's just that Lei Sanyi is starting to get restless. However, after the lightning stops moving, Lei Sanyi will settle down again, Xiao Hei said, gritting her teeth. After the lightning moved around, it did not seem to find anything. Then, it returned to where it came from. The lightning on the surface of the stone tablet gradually dimmed and finally returned to its original state. No reaction? Lei Qingtian's eyes were filled with disappointment. Lei Tingqin, on the other hand, frowned slightly. Obviously, she did not expect the final result to be a failure. Tingqin, this lad doesn't have a lightning elemental saint symbol on him. We have wasted so much effort this time. Lei Qingtian looked at Lei Tingqin with dissatisfaction. Lei Tingqin looked deeply at Zhuan. She cupped her hands and said apologetically, Patriarch, could there be a problem with the Thunderstone? Should we verify it again? Lei Qingtian snorted coldly. The Thunderstone can't be wrong. It was passed down by our ancestors. How can it be wrong? Since it has no reaction, it proves that this lad doesn't have a lightning elemental saint symbol on him. We have found the wrong person. Lei Qingtian suddenly took out a communication jade charm. His face changed immediately. Patriarch, what's wrong? Lei Tingqin asked in surprise. Lei Qingtian's face turned ugly as he said, Jiang Zuomei has brought the experts of the Icefire clan to our Fenglei clan. He's going to ask for you and Zhuan from our clan. Lei Tingqin frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, this has nothing to do with me. The one who killed Jiang Binhan is actually a mysterious person wearing a ghost mask. Jiang Zuomei has gone too far. He actually brought people to our Fenglei clan. Old Feng from the Wind lineage has already informed me to hurry over. I have to go now. Tingqin, you stay here with the 8 elders. Don't come out. As for Zhuan, Lei Qingtian made a grabbing motion with his right hand. His palm was filled with lightning. Immediately, Yuan felt as if thousands of lightning bolts were attacking him from all directions. Yuan quickly retreated. However, he found that the lightning bolts were like a terrifying cage that suppressed him. Clang. Left with no other choice, Yuan immediately took out the first Yangdao sword. Immediately, a brilliant sun gradually appeared. Within this brilliant sun, a long sword turned into a golden ray and slashed out fiercely, causing golden sword chi to wreak havoc everywhere. However, although the golden sword chi was terrifying, it could do nothing against the lightning bolts. Instead, it was completely suppressed and destroyed. Boom! After the golden sword chi was destroyed, the lightning bolts engulfed Ju. Patriarch Lei, that's not what you said at the beginning. Now, you want to take me as a hostage? Zhuan said with a cold gaze. Although Zhou Xiaoyou's cultivation is not high, you have many trump cards. Naturally, I have to guard against you. Lei Qingtian looked at Lei Tingqin and the 8 elders and said in a deep voice, "You guys keep an eye on him first. If Jiang Zuomei really doesn't want to let him go, we'll have no choice but to hand him over." After that, Lei Qingtian made a gesture and left the stone hall. Outside the stone hall, the atmosphere in the Windstorm clan's guest hall was extremely strange. There were 2 seats in the guest hall. At the moment, a white-haired elder in a white robe was sitting in one of the seats. The elder's body swayed even though there was no wind. He looked extremely mighty. At that moment, Jiang Zuomei was sitting quietly at the head of the guest hall. The experts from the Icefire clan that she brought along were standing quietly behind her. The people in the guest hall did not have to wait for long before Lei Qingtian hurried over. Chapter 1670. Confrontation. Lei Qingtian snorted and walked straight into the hall. He sat on the seat of honor next to the Wind Lineage Patriarch. "Patriarch Lei, you're finally here. I've been waiting for a long time." After Lei Qingtian sat in the seat of honor, Jiang Zuomei took a sip of tea and said unhurriedly, "It's fine." Lei Qingtian narrowed his eyes and stared at Jiang Zuomei solemnly. He said in a deep voice, "Brother Jiang, what do you mean? What are you trying to do by gathering so many people here today?" Jiang Zuomei sneered, "Doesn't Patriarch Lei know that I'm here today? My son, Jiang Binhan, died in Hanming County of the blood lineage. It is said that Lei Tingqin of the lightning lineage was present at the scene and even participated in it. Patriarch Lei, if you're wise, you should hand over Lei Tingqin." Lei Qingtian narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Tingqin isn't someone who doesn't know her place." She knew that Jiang Binhan was the young master of the Icefire family. How could she kill him? Furthermore, with her strength, how could she kill Jiang Binhan? I can tell you clearly now that this matter has nothing to do with Tingqin. She was indeed present at the scene, but she didn't kill Jiang Binhan. Instead, he was killed by a mysterious person with a ghost mask. The accomplice was the junior called Zhuan. If you want to find someone, you can look for Zhuan. Of course, Zhun is now in the hands of the lightning lineage. If you're willing to let this matter go, I'll hand Zhuan over to you. What do you think? Jiang Zuomei's eyes narrowed. He said in surprise, "Is Zhuan really in your hands?" "Of course. Back then, Hun came to the Wind Thunder City and I captured him," Lei Qingtian said faintly. Hearing this, Jiang Zuomei's eyes revealed a trace of imperceptible joy. Soon after, she said calmly, "I once took the prophet's family's sacrificial tower and asked the goddess to divine the past. Although there was only an incomplete image, at that time, only your Wind and Thunder families Lei Tingqin and Zhuan were present. Elder Fong, who was by Binhan's side, was killed by your Lei Tingqin and that Zhuan. Are you still trying to absolve Lei Tingqin?" Lei Qingtian's gaze was calm as he said faintly, "Our Fenglei clan will not take Tingqin out. Our lightning lineage is willing to protect Tingqin at any cost. The things inside were all prepared by me in advance. If family head Jiang is still not satisfied, then there is nothing to talk about. Our 2 families can only go to war." As he spoke, Lei Qingtian flicked his finger and a spiritual ring was instantly handed over to Jiang Zuomei. Jiang Zuomei took the ring and scanned through it with his consciousness. His eyes were full of excitement as there were many things inside that were quite tempting. "Patriarch Jiang, what do you think? If you're not satisfied, Then I can't do anything about it, Lei Qingtian said coldly. Jiang Zuomei played with the spiritual ring in his hand. After a moment of silence, he said, I can reluctantly accept it. However, you must bring that Zhuowen over and let our Ice Fire clan deal with him. As soon as he said that, Lei Qingtian's expression softened. Beside him, Feng Ruji, the Wind lineage's patriarch, was astonished. Logically speaking, Jiang Zuomei's son had been killed. Even if Lei Qingtian had to pay a huge price, Jiang Zuomei shouldn't have let it go. However, Jiang Zuomei's final decision was to let it go. Moreover, he seemed to be quite anxious about the young man called Tun. Could it be that Zhuowen has some secret? Feng Ruji frowned slightly as he was somewhat puzzled. Lei Qingtian's cloudy face cleared up as he laughed and said, Family head Jiang is indeed wise. Jiang Zuomei remained calm and said faintly, Then, Patriarch Lei, please hand over that Zhu. Come with me, I'll take you there. Lei Qingtian acted swiftly and decisively, without the slightest hesitation. He stood up and immediately walked towards the pavilion where Zhuowen was locked up, whereas Jiang Zuomei followed behind him with an indifferent gaze. Feng Ruji frowned slightly. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was strange. In the dim stone hall, 8 elders sat cross-legged quietly on the other side of the stone tablet. Lei Tingqin sat not far away from Zhuowen. Brother Zhuo, don't blame me for this. This is not something that I can decide. This is the Patriarch's order. Lei Tingqin looked at Zhuowen with a trace of helplessness and melancholy in her beautiful eyes. Looking at this scene, Zhuowen sneered in his heart but didn't say anything. His whole body was bound by the thunderbolt and he couldn't move at all. Moreover, the thunderbolt was extremely strange. It could actually seal his mind, making it impossible for him to communicate with the spiritual ring and open it to summon the blood fairy and his doppelganger. Obviously, this was done deliberately by Lei Qingtian. His purpose was to prevent Zhuowen from using the spiritual ring. However, most of Zhuowen's means were in the spiritual ring and his body was bound by the thunderbolt. It could be said that he was at his wit's end. However, what Lei Tingqin and the 8 elders didn't notice was that at the finger of Zhuowen's right hand, an ink-black gas was constantly entering the spiritual ring. This ink-black gas was formed by Xiaohei's power. Although Zhuowen's mind was blocked by the thunderbolt, he could control the spiritual ring through Xiaohei. However, this process was relatively difficult and slow. At least, Xiaohei hadn't completely overcome the blocking power of the thunderbolt. The clan leader suddenly sent a message and ordered us to bring Zhuowen out, Lei Tingqin suddenly said to the 8 elders. The 8 old men looked at each other and nodded. Soon after, one of the old men immediately carried Zhuowen and teleported out with Lei Tingqin. Lei Tingqin and the others walked out of the attic and saw Lei Qingtian, Jiang Zuomei and the others in the courtyard outside the attic. The moment Lei Tingqin saw Jiang Zuomei, her beautiful eyes couldn't help but shrink. However, she quickly regained her calmness. She cupped her hands at Lei Qingtian and Feng Ruji and said, Clan leader Lei, clan leader Feng. Lei Qingtian nodded. Soon after, he smiled and said, Brother Jiang, this is Zhuowen that you want. You can take him away after you take him away. Jiang Zuomei glanced at Zhuowen and said calmly, If that's the case, then I won't refuse. Speaking of this, Jiang Zuomei gave a look to one of her subordinates behind her. The subordinate nodded and walked toward Zhuowen. Zhuowen, on the other hand, knew that something was wrong the moment he saw Jiang Zuomei. He never thought that Lei Qingtian would actually want to hand him over to Jiang Zuomei. It was too shameless. Jiang Zuomei should know that I have the Ice Fire sacred symbol. That's why she's so eager to get me. If I'm captured by Jiang Zuomei, I'm afraid my life will be in danger. I must let the Feng Lei clan stop Jiang Zuomei. The only way is to use Lei Sanyi. Xiaohei, release Lei Sanyi. Zhuowen made a prompt decision and shouted at Xiaohei in his sea of consciousness. Xiaohei knew that the situation was urgent. She nodded slightly and spat out her dragon mouth. Lei Sanyi immediately appeared in the sky above the sea of consciousness. Zif, zif, zif. The moment Lei Sanyi was released, Zhuowen no longer suppressed his aura. Suddenly, the lightning disk on Lei Tingqin's body exploded with intense lightning. The expression on Lei Tingqin's face changed drastically. The lightning disk on her body involuntarily shot out from her spiritual ring. Soon after, countless bolts of lightning surged from the lightning disk. Furthermore, the lightning disk shot toward Zhuowen. What's going on? Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei were stunned. They didn't expect that the lightning disk on Lei Tingqin's body would react in such a way. You have the lightning sacred symbol on you? Lei Tingqin retracted her hand and forcefully kept the lightning disk in her hand. Her beautiful eyes fell on Zhuowen in shock. She was very clearly aware that only a lightning saint talisman was capable of causing such a great reaction from the lightning disk. In other words, Zhuowen really possessed a lightning saint talisman. However, they tested him earlier, and there wasn't any aura of a lightning saint talisman on him. So why had the lightning disk suddenly reacted so strongly? Your lightning lineage can hand me over to the Icefire clan. However, I'm afraid that the lightning sacred symbol will fall into the hands of the Icefire clan in the future. Zhuowen sneered. Seize it! Jiang Zuomei shouted. The expert from the Icefire clan who was walking toward Zhuowen suddenly took a step forward. His aura erupted like a flood. His right hand formed a claw and he wanted to grab Zhuowen. Boom! The old man who was grabbing Zhuowen snorted and similarly struck out with his claw. Instantly, terrifying energy swirled in the air and an ear-piercing explosion sounded in the air. Patriarch Lei, what is the meaning of this? Didn't you say that you would hand Zhuowen over to me? Why are you going back on your words now? Jiang Zuomei said coldly. Lei Qingtan also came back to his senses at this moment. He stared at Zhuowen with scorching eyes and laughed. You really hit it well. You really do have the lightning sacred symbol on you. If we didn't hand you over, I'm afraid that we would have been fooled by you. This is really fate. Jiang Zuomei's face darkened. He said coldly, Patriarch Lei, remember your promise. Lei Qingtian sneered and said, if this kid doesn't have the lightning sacred symbol on him, what's the harm in giving him to you? But now I, Lei Qingtian, want him. Patriarch Jiang, please go back. Boom. Jiang Zuomei suddenly clenched his fists. Waves of terrifying ice and fire energy gushed out from his body. The ground under his feet suddenly cracked into countless cracks. The surroundings were filled with the terrifying temperature of ice and fire. The dozens of experts from the Icefire clan brought by Jiang Zuomei also unleashed their terrifying auras and glared at Lei Qingtian. Jiang Zuomei, what is the meaning of this? This is the territory of the Icefire clan. Are you here to cause trouble? Chapter 1671. The Battle of the Earthly Immortals. For a moment, Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei, the two earthly immortals, faced each other. The surrounding air was boiling, and a terrifying pressure pressed down. The pavilion that the two of them were in was on the verge of collapse due to it being unable to endure the frightening aura of the two of them. Finally, with a rumbling sound, it collapsed inch by inch with a loud bang. In an instant, the atmosphere was extremely oppressive. The 8 elders of the lightning lineage and the experts brought by Jiang Zuomei did not show any signs of weakness. Patriarch Jiang, Patriarch Lei, the two of you are earthly immortals. Don't act like a commoner. Don't start a fight because of a disagreement. Feng Ruji saw that the situation was not good, so he quickly brought the experts of the wind lineage to mediate. Patriarch Feng, you saw it too, right? Lei Qingtian clearly said that he would hand over Zhuowen, but now he's going back on his word. He's not putting my Icefire clan in his eyes at all. Jiang Zuomei said coldly. Lei Qingtian was obviously hot-tempered. He said coldly, this boy is related to the lightning attribute part of the wind-thunder sacred symbol. If you feel that it's unfair, the lightning lineage will compensate you. Feng Ruji was having a headache. However, he naturally would not agree to hand over Zhuowen since it was related to the wind-thunder sacred symbol. The foundation of the wind-thunder family was the wind-thunder sacred symbol. Although it was divided into 2 factions, the wind-thunder sacred symbol was one. If the lightning attribute part of the wind-thunder sacred symbol could be recovered, the foundation of the wind-thunder family would undoubtedly be stronger. Feng Ruji naturally supported Lei Qingtian. However, what gave him a headache now was that Lei Qingtian had shamelessly made a promise. Now that he had broken his promise, Feng Ruji felt helpless. Patriarch Jiang, we didn't expect this either. After all, this kid is related to the wind and thunder sacred symbol, which is the foundation of our family. Please take a step back. Our wind and thunder family will definitely compensate you enough. Feng Ruji sighed. Boom, boom. Jiang Zuomei stomped her foot on the ground and the surrounding ground immediately shattered. Immediately, a powerful hurricane swept out and spread out in a densely packed manner. Lei Qingtian and the rest could not help but take a few steps back. You're going too far. Lei Qingtian, Feng Ruji, do you really think the Icefire family has no one? Lei Qingtian broke his promise. Ruji Feng Ruji Yu Sheng Shaochen Feng Ruji, Jiang Zuomei, you shameless, and helped Lei Qingtian. At this moment, Feng Ruji's face turned ugly. He had already lowered his status and tried to persuade Jiang Zuomei, but Jiang Zuomei didn't appreciate it at all. Calm Ruji Feng Rujis. Feng Ruji Feng Ruji Feng. Feng Ruji Yu Yu, and Ruji, Feng Ruji Yu Feng, He Immortal Studio Yu, Feng Ruji Yu Yu Studio Ruji Yu by Jiang Jiang. Jiang Zuomei, we've given you face, but you don't want it. Don't blame me for being impolite. Lei Qingtian let out a cold snort and took a step forward. Terrifying thunderbolts rumbled like thunder as they bombarded down from the clouds above. In an instant, Jiang Zuomei's terrifying pressure was neutralized. Patriarch Jiang, are you planning to start a war with the Wind Thunder family? It's unwise for you to start a war with the Wind Thunder family for a nobody. Feng Ruji also took a step forward. Instantly, dozens of terrifying windstorms rose around his body. They were like dozens of wind pillars that pierced through the heavens and earth, piercing through the horizon. Feng Ruji and Lei Qingtian's aura combined was too terrifying, suppressing Jiang Zuomei in one move. However, Jiang Zuomei did not back down. He said in a deep voice, Lei Qing'an, I've given you enough face. The death of my son, Jiang Binhan, must have something to do with Lei Tingqin, the successor of the lightning lineage. However, I'm willing to let him go and settle this peacefully. I only want Zhuoan. But now, what are you doing? Taking out something as compensation? Are you trying to dismiss a beggar? My son's life is so worthless. Now, you even want to cover up for Zhuoan. Is this how the Wind Thunder family does things? Jiang Zuomei's voice was laced with anger. He did not mention that Zhuoan had the Ice Fire Saint Talisman. He knew that if he did, Lei Qingtian and Feng Ruji would not let him take Zhuoan away. After all, everyone knew that the Ice Fire Saint Talisman was only missing a trace of its origin. If they could obtain this trace of origin, the power of the Ice Fire Saint Talisman would rise to another level. It would greatly enhance the strength of the Ice Fire family. As a competing family, the Wind Thunder family naturally would not allow the Ice Fire Saint Talisman to recover completely. Jiang Zuomei was also surprised. He did not expect that Zhuoan would have both the Ice Fire Saint Talisman and the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman. Patriarch Jiang, he's just a nobody. Don't you care too much about him? Could it be that he has something that you care about? Feng Ruji narrowed his eyes and said coldly. Jiang Zuomei's eyes flickered. He said coldly, this boy is related to the revenge of my son. How can I not care? Feng Ruji and Lei Qingtian sneered. The Wind Thunder Saint Talisman was also the most important thing to the Wind Thunder family. How could they hand over Zhuoan, who had the lightning attribute part of the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman, unless they were out of their minds? Jiang Zuomei naturally saw the sneers on Feng Ruji and Lei Qingtian's faces. He knew that the two of them would not hand over Zhuoan. Now, the only way to compete for Zhuoan was to fight. Jiangzhe, come out. Since Patriarch Feng and Patriarch Lei have broken their promise, the Icefire family does not need to give them any face. After Jiang Zuomei finished speaking, a figure walked out from behind him. This person was tall and slender, carrying a snake spear on his back. The snake spear was quite strange, as it was made up of ice and fire energy. An aura that was not weaker than Jiang Zuomei's and the other two's burst out from this person, soaring into the sky. Jiangzhe, the great elder of the Icefire family, is also here? I didn't notice that you were hiding in the back. It seems that you came prepared, Feng Ruji said coldly. Earthly immortal realm experts were extremely rare. Even the 9 Saint Talisman families only had 2 or 3 of them. However, the number of earthly immortal realm experts was only on the surface. It was basically impossible to know if these Saint Talisman families had more earthly immortals in secret. However, everyone in the central region knew that the main reason why the 9 Saint Talisman clans were superior to all the other forces in the 99 prefectures was because they all had heavenly immortal realm existences in their clans. The most important Saint Talismans of the Saint Talisman families were basically in the hands of these heaven immortals, such as the Patriarch of the Ice-Fire family and the Wind-Thunder family. However, those who could cultivate to the celestial immortal realm were basically old monsters who had lived for nearly 10,000 years. These old monsters basically came from the most difficult period after the 10,000 years calamity and cultivated to the terrifying height of the celestial immortal realm. Of course, there were also some old monsters who had survived from 10,000 years ago and had lived until now. Jiang Zuomei, do you think we are afraid of you? If you want to fight, then get your ass over here. Lei Qingtian snorted coldly and walked towards the sky with a thunderbolt. Dark clouds rolled in the sky, and countless thunderbolts raged in the dark clouds. Lei Qingtian stood under the dark clouds, facing the countless thunderbolts, like a supreme thunder god. Patriarch, I will fight him. Jiang's eyes were cold. With a twist of his right hand, he took out the serpent spear from his back and threw it out. The serpent spear was as fast as lightning, piercing through the air. For a moment, wherever the serpent spear passed, the energy of ice and fire shot up like an erupting volcano, spreading across the sky and covering the thunderbolts in the sky. The serpent spear was extremely fast, and in an instant, it was in front of Lei Qingtian. Lei Qingtian narrowed his eyes and clenched his right hand. Suddenly, rolling thunderbolts came down from the depths of the dark clouds and gathered in his right palm, forming a huge thunder spear. Boom! Lei Qingtian swung the spear, setting off countless spiraling thunderbolts that burst out. The serpent spear that was rushing towards him suddenly stopped when it hit the surface of the spiraling thunderbolts. Boom! 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 Then, around the thunder spear and the serpent spear, countless thunderbolts, ice and fire energy erupted. The space within thousands of feet of the sky collapsed, forming a terrifying black hole. Countless black cyclones gushed out from the black hole. A feeling of destruction instantly spread throughout the entire Wind Thunder City. The countless cultivators in the Wind Thunder City all knelt on the ground. At this moment, they knelt down involuntarily, as if there was a terrifying mountain pressing down on them. Crack, crack. Soon after, countless cracks appeared on the barrier above the Wind Thunder City. In the end, it shattered into countless pieces. A battle between earthly immortals. That is Lei Qingtian, the patriarch of the Thunder branch of the Wind Thunder family, and the other is Jiangzhe, the great elder of the Ice Fire family. Both of them are earthly immortals. What the hell is going on? Why are the Wind Thunder family and the Ice Fire family fighting each other? A battle between earthly immortals is a disaster for our Wind Thunder City. When the Thunder Spear and the Serpent Spear collided, the terrifying shockwaves from the collision spread out, and the Wind Thunder City exploded. Everyone could feel the terrifying aura of destruction spreading out. At a glance, they knew that only an earthly immortal could cause such a scene. Only an earthly immortal could unleash a power that terrified all of them. After the Thunder Spear and the Serpent Spear collided, the Serpent Spear was immediately thrown away. Lei Qingtian held the Thunder Spear in his hand and rushed towards Jiangzhe like a thunder god. Jiangzhe was not afraid. He took a step forward, and ice-fire lotuses rose under his feet. The moment he stepped on the ice-fire lotuses, his speed soared to the extreme, and he instantly caught the Serpent Spear that was thrown away. Boom! Boom! Chapter 1672. Wind and Thunder Inanimate. Jiang Zuomei, you're playing with fire. A battle between two Earth immortals will cause catastrophic damage to Wind and Thunder City. What? Don't you stop? Feng Ruji said coldly. Jiang Zuomei sneered. He leaped into the air and floated in the air. Half of his body was covered in fire and the other half in ice, forming a mysterious cycle. It looked strange and unique. Hand over Zhuowen, and I'll stop immediately. Otherwise, I won't let this go, Jiang Zuomei said coldly. Feng Ruji took a deep breath and said with fire in his eyes, Jiang Zuomei, you forced our family to do this. You can't tell right from wrong and insist on fighting with us. Then, I have no choice but to ask the ancestor for help. With that, Feng Ruji's eyes turned cold. He flipped his right hand and took out a token. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat a mouthful of essence blood on the token. With a crack, the token shattered. A ray of blood light shot out and went deep into the Wind and Thunder family. At that moment, in the deepest part of the Windstorm clan, there was a small temple. There was a clay statue sitting in the temple, and if one looked closely, they would find that it was a middle-aged man with bulging muscles sitting cross-legged on the statue. The ray of blood light shot into the temple and stopped between the statue's eyebrows. Then, countless cracks appeared on the statue's surface. Rays of red light shot out from the cracks. After these cracks appeared, pieces of hard soil fell from the surface of the statue. A middle-aged man with dark skin and bulging muscles suddenly opened his eyes. What's wrong with Feng Ruji? Didn't I tell you? Don't wake me up if you don't need anything. That brat woke me up with a blood contract token. If there's nothing important, I'll break his legs. The middle-aged man's eyes were cold. He stood up and cursed. However, he soon noticed a terrifying fluctuation in the sky above Wind and Thunder City. Then, he saw Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zhe fighting unscrupulously. Motherfucker. Someone actually dares to attack the Wind Thunder clan? Are they looking down on our Wind Thunder clan? The coldness in the middle-aged man's eyes grew thicker. Then, he took a step into the air and instantly disappeared from where he stood. Jiang Zhe, who was fighting with Lei Qingtian, had his eyebrows twitching nonstop, as if some unknown danger was gradually approaching him. Rumble. The instant the space between Jiang Zhe's eyebrows twitched, the space behind him suddenly collapsed. A terrifying giant hand instantly grabbed at his back. Damn it. Jiang Zhe cursed in a low voice and waved his snake spear to block Lei Qingtian's attack. Then, he took a step forward, and the ice and fire lotuses bloomed under his feet. His speed increased to the extreme, and he barely dodged the big hand. However, this giant hand was too terrifying. Although Jiang Zhe was not directly hit by this giant hand, he was still hit by the aftershock of this giant hand. He felt his whole body stiffen, and with a muffled groan he retreated continuously. Jiang Zhe's face was aghast as he wondered who the owner of this giant hand was. Just the aftermath of this attack was enough to cause his blood and qi to boil, causing him to suffer a faint internal injury. If he were to be hit directly, wouldn't he be seriously injured? Your reaction is not bad, and your body movement is also quite fast. A soft sound of surprise came from the void, and soon after, waves of ripples spread out in the void. A middle-aged man with bulging muscles and a sturdy figure walked out, and he stared at Jiang Zhe, who was retreating repeatedly with astonishment. This middle-aged man had no aura on him, as if he was an ordinary person. However, the palm that he casually stretched out just now was enough to make an earthly immortal like Jiang Zhe retreat miserably. This man was definitely not simple. Patriarch. Patriarch. Lei Qingtian and Feng Ruji immediately bowed their heads respectfully, especially Lei Qingtian, who was like a mouse meeting a cat. He immediately retreated dozens of steps and cupped his hands at the middle-aged man from afar. Lei Qingtian, why are you hiding so far away? Am I a scourge or a ferocious beast? Why are you so scared? Seeing Lei Qingtian's reaction, the middle-aged man was unhappy. He shouted at the top of his lungs. His voice was like thunder and wind, and it reverberated in the ears of countless people in the Wind Thunder City. It was as if there was an endless sound playing. Lei Qingtian's face was full of bitterness. He could only brace himself and come to 100 meters away from the middle-aged man. He nodded and bowed, and his attitude was as respectful as it could be. In fact, Lei Qingtian could not be blamed for being so afraid of the patriarch of the Wind Thunder family. It was just that the patriarch of the Wind Thunder family was too eccentric and eccentric. The middle-aged man liked martial artists with bad tempers the most. The worse their tempers were, the more he liked them. In the past, Lei Qingtian's temper was much worse than it was now. Basically, he would fight whenever there was a disagreement. Every time he fought, there would be blood. The patriarch liked Lei Qingtian very much back then. Every day, he would summon Lei Qingtian to his residence and trample on him. He called it a kind of training for his will. During that period of time, Lei Qingtian was the most miserable and fucked up. He was almost tortured to death every day, and his flesh was torn open. There was hardly a day when he looked like a human being. Because of this, Lei Qingtian's temper had improved a lot. At the same time, his heart was full of fear for the patriarch. That's good. But who are these guys? How dare they come to our Wind Thunder family? The middle-aged man nodded, and then he stared coldly at Jiangzhe, Jiang Zuomei, and the others. His gaze contained a terrifying pressure, and even earthly immortals like Jiangzhe and Jiang Zuomei felt their hearts tremble and thump wildly. The patriarch of the Wind Thunder family, Feng Lei Wuji. Jiang Zuomei said with an ugly expression. They are from the Icefire family. This person is the current patriarch of the Icefire family, Jiang Zuom. This time, Jiang Zuomei is too bold. She dares to come to our Wind Thunder family for a nobody. How hateful! Feng Ruji answered truthfully. Wind Thunder Wuji arched his eyebrows and said with surprise, for a nameless person? Who is that nameless person? Why would the Icefire family mobilize so many people? It's him. Lei Qingtian quickly pointed at Zhuowen, who was not far away, protected by Lei Tingqin and the 8 lightning elemental elders. At this moment, Zhuowen was wrapped in layers of lightning, like a dumpling. When Feng Lei Wuji's gaze fell on Zhuowen's pupils shrank, and he secretly complained in his heart. The pressure that Feng Lei Wuji gave him was even more terrifying than that of Jiang Zuomei and the other Earth Immortals. Moreover, Lei Qingtian and the others called him Patriarch. How could Zhuowen not guess that this person's cultivation was at the Sky Immortal realm? Feng Lei Wuji's gaze was extremely sharp, as if he had seen through him from head to toe. Feng Lei Wuji was just casually glancing at Zhuowen, but soon his gaze was fixed on him, and his face became serious. This boy has a part of the lightning elemental wind and thunder saint symbol. No, I feel that there is another saint symbol's aura on him. What is it? Feng Lei Wuji narrowed his eyes, and an unprecedented light burst out from his eyes. Immediately, he became serious and said with a smile, no wonder the Icefire family dared to cause trouble for our Wind and Thunder family for this boy. It turns out that this boy has a trace of the origin of the Icefire saint symbol. I didn't expect that this boy's luck would be so good. He actually has a part of 2 saint symbols in his body. As soon as these words came out, Lei Qingtian and Feng Ruji were shocked, and then they revealed a look of understanding. No wonder Jiang Zuomei was so eager to get Zhuowen. It turned out that Zhuowen still had a trace of the origin that the Icefire family had lost many years ago. Patriarch Jiang, no wonder you are so anxious. It turns out that this boy has a trace of the Icefire saint symbol's origin. Ha! Feng Ruji suddenly laughed. Jiang Zuomei's face was gloomy to the extreme. She stared at Feng Lei Wuji and said in a deep voice, Senior Feng Lei, as the ancestor of the Wind and Thunder family, do you want to bully the weak and intervene in the affairs of us juniors? Feng Lei Wuji laughed and said, bullshit. A bunch of bullshit. It stinks to the point where I can't even smell it. You've already fought your way into this old man's home. If I don't do anything now that I've come out, do you think there's something wrong with my head? Or do you think I'm an idiot? Feng Lei Wuji spoke without any scruples. His cursing immediately made Jiang Zuomei's face turn gloomy. You juniors of the Icefire family, get lost as far as you can. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave later, Feng Lei Wuji said indifferently. Jiang Zuomei took a deep breath and said indifferently, Senior Feng Lei's eyes are like torches. You can sense the aura of the Icefire saint symbol on Zhuowen's body. However, this thing is a treasure of our Icefire family. We won't let this matter go. Since Senior Feng Lei has come out, our ancestor will naturally not continue to be silent. Speaking up to here, a huge Icefire array suddenly appeared in the sky above the Wind Thunder City. The energy of ice and fire intertwined in this array and finally turned into a stalwart figure. It was an old man in an icy blue and fiery red robe. His hair and beard were white, and his eyes were like torches. Jiang Binghan? Feng Lei Wuji narrowed his eyes and stared coldly at the old man who had suddenly appeared. Ancestor. With Jiang Zuomei as the leader, the group of people bowed to the old man in an extremely respectful manner. Jiang Binghan nodded and immediately looked at Zhuowen with deep meaning. His eyes flashed and he laughed. He really has a wisp of the Icefire Saint symbol. This old man has been bitterly searching for this source for thousands of years. I didn't expect to find it today. Speaking up to here, Jiang Binghan looked at Feng Lei Wuji and said, "Old man Feng Lei, let me have this boy." Feng Lei Wuji snorted coldly and said, "Jiang Binghan, aren't you too arrogant? This boy also has the lightning attribute of the Wind Thunder Saint symbol. Let you have it? Do you think that's possible?" Chapter 1673. Heavenly Immortal Feng Lei Wuji sneered, "Jiang Binghan, do you think I'm a 3-year-old kid? You want your Icefire family to extract the Icefire's sacred symbol's origin from this kid? If you extract the lightning attribute part of the wind and lightning sacred symbol during the process, what's the point of giving such a useless person to my wind and lightning family?" Jiang Binghan frowned and said, "I, Jiang Binghan, am a man of my word. I will not touch the lightning attribute part of the wind and lightning sacred symbol." "Your promise is nothing. This kid must belong to our wind and lightning family. Get lost from wherever you came from," Feng Lei Wuji said without any trace of politeness. His words angered Jiang Binghan. Jiang Binghan's eyes were cold as he said, "Old man Wind and Lightning, don't be too arrogant. Do you really think I can't deal with you? If you want to deal with me, then deal with me. Why are you blabbering nonsense?" Feng Lei Wuji sneered. Jiang Binghan snorted and didn't waste any more words. He took a step forward and appeared behind Feng Lei Wuji as if he had teleported. Immediately, he threw out a palm, and an invisible ripple spread out. Feng Lei Wuji's eyes narrowed. He took a step and leaned to the side, narrowly dodging Jiang Binghan's palm. Then his right hand turned into a claw and caught Jiang Binghan's right hand. Buzz. As soon as the two collided, an invisible ripple spread out. The surrounding space collapsed inch by inch, and the buildings that spanned thousands of feet below them all collapsed and were annihilated. Retreat. Lei Tingqin's face changed when she felt the terrifying invisible ripple. She quickly shouted, "Activate the wind and lightning array." As soon as Lei Tingqin said that, the 8 lightning elemental elders behind her rushed out. At the same time, Lei Qingtian and Feng Ruji commanded the experts of their respective factions to set up a powerful wind and thunder array around them. In an instant, 2 huge wings appeared within 100 feet of the wind and lightning family. One wing was made of wind energy, while the other was made of lightning energy. As soon as the 2 wings appeared, they suddenly joined together, forming an oval shape that enveloped the wind and thunder family. As the terrifying, invisible ripples spread out, the huge Tempest array began to tremble. The expert of the Tempest clan who presided over the array let out a muffled groan. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His face was devoid of blood. In the wind and thunder formation, Feng Ruji and Lei Qingtian looked at each other and unleashed their earthly immortal realm strength. For a moment, the power of the wind and thunder formation increased greatly and finally resisted the invisible ripples. Although the Wind Thunder clan was saved, the countless structures within several thousand meters of the clan had been reduced to dust. The countless cultivators within the range were unable to resist the terrifying ripples and died one after another. Is this a battle between celestial immortals? Inside the Tempest array, Yuan looked up at Wuji and Jiang Binghan, who were in the sky. It was just an ordinary collision between the two of them, but the ripples that were produced had such terrifying power. In the past, Zhun would have thought that this was simply inconceivable. Celestial immortals were too strong. Whether it was Wuji or Jiang Binghan, they could kill Zhuowen as easily as pinching an ant. At this moment, Zhuowen's heart was filled with a sense of awe. This was a normal reaction in the face of an existence whose strength was far beyond his own. But soon, the awe in Zhuowen's heart turned into eagerness. He also hoped that one day he could be as strong as Wuji. With a wave of his hand, tens of thousands of soldiers and horses would be nothing more than ants. Crack. The invisible ripples dissipated, but cracks appeared on the wind and thunder formation. Immediately, it collapsed. The wind and thunder formation was destroyed just by taking one hit from the invisible ripples. As for Jiang Zhuame, she led the experts of the Icefire family and hurriedly retreated a few thousand feet away, narrowly avoiding the invisible ripples. The scene of a few thousand feet being razed to the ground in the blink of an eye fell into the eyes of countless warriors in the Wind and Thunder City. Immediately, the eyes of these warriors were filled with panic. Eventually, this panic spread to the entire Wind and Thunder City. In an instant, the Wind and Thunder City was in chaos. The noise was like firecrackers. Figures rushed out of the Wind and Thunder City. At this moment, they no longer dared to stay in the Wind and Thunder City. How could they withstand the might of a celestial immortal? If they didn't want to die, they could only run for their lives. Old man Wind and Thunder, quickly let go of me. Wu Ji held Jiang Binhan's right hand tightly, causing Jiang Binhan's face to turn gloomy. He shouted angrily, his eyes filled with displeasure. This place is too close to the Wind and Thunder City. Let's fight. Follow me. Wu Jifeng also realized that it was inappropriate to fight in the Wind and Thunder City. With the might of a celestial immortal, if they really fought, the Wind and Thunder City would be turned into ruins. At that time, the people would be plunged into misery and suffering. After saying that, Wu Jifeng lay grabbed with his right hand and stomped his foot. He directly teleported and disappeared thousands of miles away. Teleportation is a divine ability that only celestial saints can use. Celestial immortals can teleport to any place within thousands of miles in an instant. Looking at how he appeared thousands of miles away in an instant, Zhuowen's eyes revealed a hint of understanding. Xiao He had told him about the characteristics of celestial saints before. Among them, teleportation was the most prominent divine ability of celestial saints. In addition to the divine ability of teleportation, what existed in the Dantian of celestial saints was not the inner core, but the primordial spirit. The primordial spirit did not carry saint power, but the special and powerful power of celestial core power. Celestial core power was also known as celestial saint power. This celestial core power was far superior to saint power. Perhaps the energy contained in a thumb-sized celestial core power of an earthly immortal was comparable to the total amount of saint power in the Dantian of a saint at the peak of the heaven-defying saint stage. Just now, although Wu Jifeng Lei and Jiang Binghan had only collided with each other, they had mobilized the celestial core power in their bodies. Even if it was an ordinary collision with celestial core power, it was far more terrifying than an ordinary saint's attack. Boom, 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 boom. Suddenly, a terrifying roar came from thousands of miles away. Two black shadows were like two black lightning bolts, constantly colliding in the sky thousands of miles away. Moreover, the collision of these two black shadows was too terrifying. Every time they collided, the aftermath seemed to be able to tear the sky and shatter the earth. Thousands of miles away, no matter if it was a mountain, a plain, or a hill, everything was shattered into countless pieces and powder under the collision of the two black shadows. Even the ground was blasted open, and in the depths of the ravines, blazing hot magma gushed out, creating an extremely spectacular scene. Even the people in Wind Thunder City, who were thousands of miles away, could feel the intensity and terror of the battle between the two. Jiang Binghan, get out of my Wind Thunder mansion. Suddenly, a shocking roar came from thousands of miles away. Immediately after, the two people who were fighting continuously separated. Wu Jifeng Lei's face was filled with a murderous aura. Both of his hands quickly formed seals in the void. Boom. Suddenly, the aura in Wu Jifeng Lei's body became extremely terrifying. The surface of his body was surrounded by extremely terrifying wind and lightning energy. At the same time, Wu Jifeng Lei formed seals again and again. His eyes revealed a dignified expression. Suddenly, he spat out a talisman from his mouth. To be more precise, it was half a talisman. This talisman was not complete, only half. Although it contained wind and lightning energy, The wind energy was far stronger than the lightning energy. Old man Feng Lei, are you crazy? Jiang Binghan turned pale with fright. He did not expect Wuji Feng Lei to use the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman. Although the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman in the Wind Thunder family was not complete, it was still a saint talisman. Moreover, it was controlled by a heavenly immortal like Wuji Feng Lei. The power it could display was far more terrifying than a heavenly immortal saint artifact. Wuji Feng Lei's eyes were cold. He stared at Jiang Binghan and said in a deep voice, "You've touched my bottom line many times. You've even behaved atrociously in my Wind Thunder mansion. This old man cannot tolerate this. Today, even if I have to use this Wind Thunder Saint Talisman, I will drive you away." After saying that, Wuji Feng Lei grabbed the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman with his right hand. Then he squeezed it. Suddenly, a terrifying wind energy surged out, mixed with traces of lightning. The wind energy gathered on Zhuowen's back, and finally turned into 3 pairs of huge wind wings. These 3 pairs of wind elemental great wings were much more powerful than Zhuowen's Lei Sanyi. Although Zhuowen's Lei Sanyi had lost the lightning disc, the main reason was that Zhuowen's strength was much weaker than these wind elemental great wings. As soon as the 3 wind wings formed, Wuji Feng Lei's aura reached the peak of the heavenly immortal realm. The 3 wind wings on Wuji Feng Lei's back flapped fiercely, and a terrifying hurricane erupted from the void behind him. Wuji Feng Lei's speed increased to an extremely terrifying level. It was much faster than teleportation. In the blink of an eye, Wuji Feng Lei arrived behind Jiang Binghan. Jiang Binghan did not even have time to react. His attention was still fixed on the previous situation. Bang! Wuji Feng Lei's right palm blasted out, aiming at Jiang Binghan's back. Jiang Binghan immediately reacted, but Wuji Feng Lei's speed was too fast. He could only lean to the side and block with both hands in front of his body. Jiang Binghan let out a muffled groan and retreated. Soon after, his eyes revealed a look of horror. However, Wuji Feng Lei did not want to give Jiang Binghan any time to think. His speed was like lightning. Before Jiang Binghan could react, he flashed behind Jiang Binghan again, and his palm blasted out like a poisonous snake. Jiang Binghan's eyes revealed anger and killing intent. Then he shouted loudly, and a talisman floated out from his Tianling acupoint. This talisman was more complete than Wuji Feng Lei's talisman. There was only a gap in the upper right corner. The entire talisman was formed by the alternating combination of ice and fire. Chapter 1674. The Battle for Possession. Feng Lei Wuji's right hand slammed into the ice-fire shield, but it was as if he had slammed into a soft water curtain. The power of his right hand was completely disintegrated by the ice-fire shield. Moreover, the alternating ice and fire energy on the surface of the ice-fire shield were like maggots that drilled into Feng Lei Wuji's palm. Feng Lei Wuji's right foot stomped on the ground, and he retreated rapidly, leaving the area where Jiang Binghan was. At the same time, the ice and fire energy on his right palm was blocked by his powerful celestial yuan. However, although Feng Lei Wuji's celestial yuan was extremely powerful, the ice and fire energy was extremely strange. It was extremely sticky, and it stuck to his palm, trying to drill into his meridians again. Feng Lei Wuji felt a headache from the terrifying ice and fire energy. He clenched his palm, and the power of the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman and his celestial yuan completely annihilated the ice and fire energy. "You also brought the Ice-Fire Saint Talisman out?" Feng Lei Wuji's eyes flickered with shock. At this moment, there was a huge sea of fire above Jiang Binghan's head and layers of cold air beneath his feet. He stood in the middle of the ice and fire energy, and his hair fluttered without wind. He looked like a god and a demon. "I naturally have my own trump cards since I dared to barge into your Wind Thunder clan today. I know that your clan has the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman, so how can I not bring the Ice-Fire Saint Talisman out just in case?" Jiang Binghan stomped his right foot, and the cold air under his feet began to spread at a terrifying speed. The area within 10,000 miles of Jiang Binghan was affected by the cold air, and it turned into a terrifying ice domain, as if 10,000 miles were frozen. Above Jiang Binghan's head, flames were burning the sky. The scorching heat radiated in all directions. The sky was covered in flames, and the surrounding temperature had reached a terrifying level. The Ice Fire Saint Talisman is almost complete. Is this the true power of the Ice Fire Saint Talisman? In the Fenglei clan, Yuan had a complicated look in his eyes. He finally realized that the power of the Saint Talisman was so terrifying. The Holy Ice Fire Talisman in Jiang Binghan's hand was not complete, but it was able to exert such heaven-like power. He knew that if the Holy Ice Fire Talisman was complete, the power it could exert would be beyond imagination. When Jiang Binghan and Fenglei Wuji took out the Ice Flame Saint Rune and Wind Thunder Saint Rune respectively, the Saint Runes of the other 7 Saint Rune families in the other 7 directions of the Central Plains all showed some changes. In the Prophet's family's sacrificial tower, the goddess was sitting on a cushion. The divination holy talisman floating on the altar in front of her was buzzing. The entire altar was shaking violently. Goddess, the prediction Saint Talisman is behaving strangely. Could it be that something has happened to the other Saint Talismans? An old man in a white coat, holding a walking stick, slowly walked behind Yan Tianwei. His pair of turbid old eyes revealed a trace of bewilderment. Ancestor, can't you feel these 2 auras? These are the Fenglei Saint Rune and the Icefire Saint Rune. The Fenglei clan and the Icefire clan have already started a war, Yan Tianwei said calmly. The old man slowly calmed down. He stared deeply at Yan Tianwei and said, the Wind Thunder clan and the Icefire clan are both clans with deep foundations. They won't act so easily. If they do, you should have predicted it, goddess, so why, ancestor? Please don't ask too many questions. Everything Tianwei has done is for the sake of our Prophet clan. The divination holy talisman has been gathering dust in the Prophet clan for thousands of years. Because of this, the Prophet clan has become the weakest of the 9 great Saint Rune clans. Since Tianwei has the ability to communicate with the divination holy talisman, Tianwei will do everything in my power to rise up our Prophet clan. I hope that the ancestor and the entire Prophet clan will do their best to help Tianwei. The goddess suddenly bent down and said to Yan Tianwei with sincerity. The old man helped Yan Tianwei up and sighed, Goddess, this old man doesn't deserve it. You are the 2nd person in the Prophet clan to be able to communicate with the divination holy talisman after the 1st generation ancestor. You are a heaven-sent person of our Prophet clan. We wholeheartedly acknowledge you as the goddess. Since the goddess has the heart to rise up the Prophet clan, this old man is very happy and will definitely do his best to help. The corners of Yan Tianwei's mouth revealed an imperceptible smile, and then he said, Thank you, ancestor. In addition to the Prophet clan, the ancestors of the other 6 Saint Rune clans, namely the Heavy Shield, Revolving Stab, Eternal, Blood Sacrifice, Monarch Blade, and Beast Envoy, all opened their eyes at this moment. Their gazes crossed the endless territory of the Central Plains and finally landed on Jiang Binghan and Fenglei Wuji, who were holding the Icefire Saint Rune, and Fenglei Wuji, who were holding the Fenglei Saint Rune. Fenglei Wuji of the Fenglei clan and Jiang Binghan of the Icefire clan have gone crazy? They are actually using their Saint Runes to fight. Don't they care about the rules set by the 9 great Saint Rune clans? Are they trying to break the balance? Even if these 2 clans break the balance, it has nothing to do with us. If they want to fight, let them fight. It's best if they fight until both sides suffer. Maybe we can be the fishermen. At this moment, the ancestors of the 6 great clans were communicating with each other with their terrifying divine senses. Of course, the only one who didn't release their divine senses was the Prophet clan. However, the patriarchs of the 6 great clans did not find it strange. Although the Prophet clan had produced a peerless genius goddess, the Prophet clan's foundation was too weak. Their foundation was much weaker than the other 8 clans. Even the ancestor of the Prophet clan was only at the peak of the earthly immortal realm. They didn't have any sky immortals, so their combat strength was extremely weak. They had always been neglected by the other 8 great clans. Although the Prophet clan's status had risen a lot in the past 1,000 years due to the emergence of the goddess, the other 8 great clans still didn't take the Prophet clan seriously because the threat of the Prophet clan was too low. Not only the Saint Rune clan, but many martial artists around the Wind Thunder Mansion also felt the terrifying energy coming from the Wind Thunder Mansion. At this moment, in a rather luxurious pavilion in the Bai clan of the Green Lotus Mansion, two figures were standing outside the courtyard. They were looking at the Wind Thunder Mansion with worry in their eyes. "Brother Tian, we received a message from Brother Zhua. He told us not to enter the Wind Thunder Mansion. Something big seems to be happening there. Could it be related to Brother Zhua?" Woody asked worriedly. Lu Hantian took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Since Yun told us not to go, we shouldn't go. The fluctuation is too terrifying. It's not something we can withstand. Plus, Yun has the Azure Dragon Palace. I believe he'll be fine. Right now, we only need to stay in the Bai clan. In the past, Don told me about the Bai clan. It's said to be the clan of one of his seniors. If he comes to the Green Lotus Mansion in the future, he'll definitely come and take a look. The Bai clan is in a difficult period now. If it's Juan, he'll definitely help. Now that Juan isn't here, we'll help the Bai clan on his behalf." Woody nodded when she heard that. Although she was worried about Juan's message said that he was fine. He also warned them not to go to the Wind Thunder Mansion without permission. Therefore, she didn't rush to the Wind Thunder Mansion with Lu Hantian. "Old man Wind Thunder, let's see if the Wind Thunder Saint Rune or the Ice Fire Saint Rune is stronger." Jiang Binghan's eyes were indifferent. He clenched his right hand. Immediately, the sky-burning fire in the sky and the coldness on the ground contracted rapidly. When the ice and fire came into contact, there was a strange, sizzling sound. Then, a four-petaled ice-fire lotus was formed. The ice-fire lotus was too big. It radiated a radius of 10,000 miles. The moment this fire and ice lotus was formed, Feng Lei Wuji's face darkened. With a loud roar, the 3 pairs of wind wings on his back swept out a hurricane that reached the heavens. Immediately, the 3 pairs of wind wings opened and closed, dodging the attacks of the fire and ice lotus. Feng Lei Wuji leaped and flapped his wind wings. He soared into the sky. The ice-fire lotus chased after him like an angry dragon. Crash! Feng Lei Wuji leaped into the sky. At this moment, the sky was already covered with dark clouds. Bolts of lightning that were thicker than buckets intertwined in the clouds. My Wind Thunder Saint Rune isn't complete. If I want to display the true power of this rune, I can only use the natural lightning to form the Wind Thunder wings. Absorb! The moment Feng Lei Wuji leaped into the clouds, he grabbed with his right hand. Suddenly, the dark clouds rolled violently. Countless bolts of lightning gathered behind Feng Lei Wuji's back. The moment the lightning gathered, the 3 pairs of wind wings on his back began to expand and fuse together. When all the lightning in the clouds was absorbed, the dark clouds were suddenly blown away by a hurricane. Immediately, a pair of huge wind thunder wings appeared in the sky. When the pair of wings spread out, it was 10,000 feet wide. It was as if the pair of wings covered the entire sky. Rumble! The fire and ice lotus still reached a height of 10,000 miles, and the pair of wings slowly closed. The instant the fire and ice lotus collided with the pair of wings, it collapsed with a loud bang, and the energy of ice and fire poured down like a volcanic eruption in the entire sky. This scene was like the end of the world. The entire sky was filled with the ice fire lotus and wind thunder energies. Day was no longer day, and the sky was no longer the sky. That scene was simply too shocking. Everyone in Wind Thunder Manor would never be able to forget what they saw today. Zuamei, Jiangzhe, what are you waiting for? Get that Jun. Old man Feng Lei can't stop you now. Our ice fire family must get this kid. Jiang Binghan's voice rumbled in the sky as the Ice Flame Saint Talisman and the Wind Lightning Saint Talisman collided in the sky, creating a terrifying, dazzling light. Yes. Jiang Zuamei and the other experts of the Ice Fire family, who were absent-minded because of the battle between Jiang Binghan and Feng Lei Wuji, came back to their senses and responded. Lei Qingtian, Feng Ruji, our Ice Fire family must get Zhuan today. Chapter 1675. Counterattack 8 Elders, come with me to stop them. Tingqing, take good care of this kid. Don't let anything happen to him, Lei Qingtian said to Tingqing. Lei Qingtian instructed Lei Tingqin. Then he led the 8 lightning elders and rose into the sky. Feng Ruji was not to be outdone. He sent out the elites of the wind faction to fly alongside Lei Qingtian. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei, Feng Ruji and Jiang Zhe, as well as the elites of the Icefire clan and Wind and Thunder clan clashed. However, Lei Qingtian and Feng Ruji were clearly worried about the Wind and Thunder clan, so they purposely led Jiang Zuomei and Jiang Zhe away from the Wind and Thunder clan. At this moment, the elites of the Wind and Thunder clan had all been dispatched. The remaining soldiers began to surround the Wind and Thunder clan under Lei Tingqin's command. Lei Tingqin let out a sigh of relief after dispatching the soldiers of the Wind and Thunder clan. She looked at Zhuan coldly. Young Master Zhua, since you have the lightning element of the Wind and Thunder Saint symbol, why didn't you reveal it earlier? Why did you reveal it now? Are you trying to provoke a battle between the Wind and Thunder clan and the Icefire clan? Zhuowen sneered and did not answer Lei Tingqin's question. At this moment, all of his attention was focused on Blackie. Blackie's power was about to break the shackles in the spirit ring. At that time, he would be able to use the items in the spirit ring to break free from the shackles on his body. Tingqin, what's there to say to this person? His actions just now were clearly intentional. An indifferent voice sounded. Feng Tianhan walked over step by step. His gaze first fell on Lei Tingqin, then he looked mockingly at Zhuan, who was bound by lightning. Lei Tingqin looked at Feng Tianhan and could not help but frown. She said in a deep voice, I am naturally aware of this matter. However, I am puzzled as to how this person managed to hide the lightning-attributed aura of the Wind Lightning Saint symbol. Feng Tianhan said faintly, Tingqin, what you should be concerned about now is not this, but how to take out the lightning element part of the Wind and Thunder Saint rune. You know that the Wind and Thunder Saint rune of our Wind and Thunder clan is more damaged than the Icefire Saint rune. Although Ancestor Zephyr Thunder's cultivation isn't weaker than Jiang Binghan's, I'm afraid he's at a disadvantage in terms of Saint Talismans. As long as we extract the Zephyr Thunder Saint Talisman from this kid and hand it to Ancestor Zephyr Thunder, Jiang Binghan won't dare to be so arrogant. On the other hand, we will also have made a great contribution. Isn't this killing 2 birds with 1 stone? Lei Tingqin looked at Feng Tianhan coldly and said, This boy has the thunder element of the Wind and Thunder Saint symbol. He has nothing to do with your wind element. I will make the decision. Feng Tianhan snorted coldly and pointed to the sky thousands of miles away. The battle there was getting more and more intense. The Icefire Lotus formed by the Icefire Saint symbol poured out terrifying ice and fire energy tirelessly. On the other hand, Feng Lei Wuji tightly closed the Wind and Thunder wings formed by the Wind and Thunder Saint Talisman in order to resist the terrifying ice and fire energy. Anyone could see that Feng Lei Wuji was at a disadvantage in this battle. Ancestor Zephyr Thunder has always been on the defensive. You should know that if we want to help Ancestor Zephyr Thunder's Saint Talisman from this kid and let Ancestor Zephyr Thunder fuse with it, only then will we have a chance to drive Jiang Binghan away, said Feng Tianhan. Lei Tingqin revealed a slightly moved expression when she heard this. After pondering for a while, she finally sighed softly and said, Forget it. I have the lightning disc with me. I can rely on the stone tablet in the ancestral land to forcefully strip the Wind Lightning Saint symbol from this child. However, it will be very difficult for me to succeed alone. Come and help me. Feng Tianhan was overjoyed. He said, Tingqin, don't worry. I'll definitely help you with this. Lei Tingqin was expressionless. She walked into the pavilion and said, Take Thun and come with me. Feng Tianhan did not hesitate. He picked up Zhuowen and followed closely behind Lei Tingqin. Zhuowen, who had been paying attention to Xiao He, suddenly had a change of expression. He stared at Lei Tingqin and had an extremely bold idea. Thun, I've broken the seal on the spiritual ring. If you want to leave, you can leave now, Xiao He's voice echoed in Zhuowen's head. However, Thun rejected it. I'm not in a hurry to leave. I plan to enter the ancestral land with Lei Tingqin and Feng Tianhan. Right now, the Icefire clan and the Wind and Thunder clan are fighting. They have no time to care about this place, and the lightning disc is with Lei Tingqin. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You want to snatch the lightning disc from this woman? Xiao Hei asked in astonishment. Why not? This woman schemed against me before. She's vicious and merciless. Plus, the lightning disc is indeed useful to me. If I don't snatch it from her, who else can I snatch it from? Zhuowen's voice was cold. Xiao Hei nodded and said, This is indeed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The Icefire clan and the Wind and Thunder clan are fighting. They have sent out all their elites. If you miss this opportunity, you won't be able to snatch the lightning disc from Lei Tingqin. However, the time is not right yet. Let's wait until we enter the ancestral land. Zhuowen nodded. He simply closed his eyes and waited silently. Lei Tingqin and Zhuowen soon arrived at the depths of the pavilion. Lei Tingqin opened the array in the depths of the pavilion and came to the stone hall with a stone tablet in the middle that Zhuowen had visited before. Bang! Feng Tianhan casually threw Zhuowen to the ground. The coldness in Zhuowen's eyes intensified, but he did not act rashly. His goal was Lei Tingqin's lightning disc. Now that Lei Tingqin had not taken out the lightning disc, he could not act rashly. Lei Tingqin came to the front of the stone tablet and immediately turned around. She glanced indifferently at Zhuowen and said, Young Master Zhuo, extracting the Saint Talisman origin is an extremely painful thing. If you refuse to cooperate, I'm afraid your life will be in danger. Don't blame me for not warning you. Zhuowen's eyes were cold as he said indifferently, If you extract the Wind and Thunder Saint Talisman from me, will you let me go? Lei Tingqin sneered, Young Master Zhuo, aren't you too naive? In addition to the Wind and Thunder Saint Talisman, you also have the Icefire Saint Talisman. Do you think I will let you go? However, I can guarantee that I won't hurt you. Zhuowen fell silent. No one knew what Zhuowen was thinking at this moment. Tingqin, why are you wasting time with him? Let's get started. Feng Tianhan said impatiently. Lei Tingqin nodded. Soon after, she beckoned with her jade-like hand and took out the lightning plate. Soon after, her jade-like hand touched the lightning plate. Immediately, countless thunderbolts surged out from the lightning plate and densely entered the stone tablet in front of her. At the same time, Feng Tianhan followed Lei Tingqin's instructions and brought Zhuowen over. Lei Tingqin stared at Zhuowen and said indifferently, Young Master Zhuo, for your own sake, it's best that you don't resist. Otherwise, your life will be in danger. However, Zhuowen laughed out loud. His laughter was extremely unbridled. What are you laughing at? Lei Tingqin frowned. Blood immortal. Zhuowen faintly spat out these words. Immediately, terrifying blood lightning spread out from Zhuowen's body. Soon after, the lightning that bound Zhuowen collapsed under the suppression of the blood lightning. At the same time, a blood shadow suddenly leaped out and forced Feng Tianhan to continuously retreat. Zhuowen, who had broken free from the shackles, extended his right hand and swiftly grabbed at the lightning disc floating in front of the stone tablet. Lei Tingqin's pretty face changed drastically. She clearly didn't expect Zhuowen to suddenly break free from her imprisonment. However, her reaction wasn't slow at all. With a wave of her jade-like hand, the lightning disc rapidly retracted and returned to her hand. Where are you going? Zhuowen snorted coldly. The explosion step and the void laws burst out at the same time. He arrived in front of the lightning disc in an instant and forcefully took it into his palm. Sizzle! Sizzle! The lightning disc buzzed and emitted dense lightning bolts. Yun felt his right hand go numb. The lightning bolts went along his arm and traveled around his body, making him feel numb. Fortunately, Zhuowen had covered his body with the underworld water droplets, so he wasn't affected too much. Thunderstorm. Lei Tingqin's face was cold. She formed a seal with her hand. Suddenly, the lightning disc emitted even more terrifying lightning energy, faintly forming a violent sea of lightning. Zhuowen's face darkened. He formed a seal with his right hand and took out the first Yangdao sword. Golden light burst out from his body and a terrifying aura suppressed the lightning disc. However, the thunderstorm around the lightning disc was too violent. Even the first Yangdao sword couldn't suppress it. Ninth Yangdao sword. Zhuowen didn't want to continue the stalemate with the lightning disc. He immediately took out the 9th Yang Dao sword. The moment the 9th Yang Dao sword appeared, it was as if 9 shadows of the sun had appeared. The aura was much more terrifying than the first Yang Dao sword. Clang. The 9th Yang Dao sword instantly slammed onto the lightning disc. The violent lightning bolts around the lightning disc were destroyed by the 9th Yang Dao sword. The lightning bolts on the surface of the lightning disc dimmed a lot. Lei Tingqin was affected by the aftermath of the 9th Yang Dao sword. She couldn't help but retreat. She spat out a mouthful of blood and her face was pale. While Lei Tingqin was retreating, Zhuowen waved his right hand and forcefully pinched the lightning disc that was much weaker than before. The saint energy in his palm transformed into a confinement force and imprisoned the lightning disc. He then shoved it into his spiritual ring without hesitation. The moment Zhuowen kept the lightning disc, his eyes fell on Lei Tingqin, who was retreating. His eyes were filled with a terrifying murderous intent. Slash! Zhuowen formed a seal with his right hand and the first Yang Dao sword and the 9th Yang Dao sword flew out together. They turned into 2 blazing suns and slashed down. As soon as the sword appeared, countless blazing suns appeared in the void. It looked extremely terrifying. Lei Tingqin's pretty face was ghastly pale. With a wave of her jade-like hand, a jade bracelet appeared on her pure white wrist. The surface of the bracelet was engraved with numerous runes. The bracelet emitted a jade light and formed a green transparent light shield around Lei Tingqin. It looked indestructible and extremely sturdy. Boom! Boom! Chapter 1676. Lei Tingqin gives in. The bracelet on Lei Tingqin's wrist was broken, and her face was pale. Just as she was about to resist, Yuan had already arrived behind her. Zhuowen's right hand pointed his finger sword and poked dozens of times on Lei Tingqin's body. Suddenly, all the meridians on Lei Tingqin's body were sealed. At the same time, Zhuowen used the heavenly dragon lock seal, and thick chains tightly bound Lei Tingqin's body. Lei Tingqin was shocked and angry at the same time. She glared at Zhuowen. Just as she was about to curse, Zhuowen did not give her a chance to speak. With a wave of his sleeve, he immediately took Lei Tingqin into the Azure Dragon Palace. Lei Tingqin was the inheritor of the Thunder family, and she knew how to use the Thunder Disc. Therefore, Yi Futian still had a use for her, so he couldn't kill her. Motherfucker, you really are trash. In front of me, the Blood Immortal, you're just trash. Kneel down before me. At this moment, the battle on the other side had also ended. The Blood Immortal was a half-immortal, while Feng Tianhan was only a heaven-defying saint. Although his strength was not bad, there was still a big gap between them. The Blood Immortal stepped on Feng Tianhan's chest and viciously stomped on him. Her face was full of arrogance as she boasted shamelessly. Do you know the name of your Lord Blood Immortal? In the future, your Lord Blood Immortal will definitely be famous in the Central Continent. Everyone will be afraid of you. Your Lord Blood Immortal will definitely be a legendary existence. If you surrender to me now, you will live a good life. The Blood Immortal laughed. On the other hand, Feng Tianhan was very sullen. The Blood Immortal's right foot was like a mountain that crushed down on Feng Tianhan's chest, making it difficult for him to stand up. He couldn't even move an inch. Yo, you're still struggling? You don't want to give me face, do you? The Blood Immortal laughed and kicked Feng Tianhan's abdomen with her right foot. Feng Tianhan immediately groaned in pain. He covered his abdomen with his hands, curled up, and kept rolling around. The Blood Immortal licked her lips. Just as she was about to attack again, a cold snort came, causing her to stop. The Blood Immortal quickly turned around and bowed to Zhuo. She smiled and said, "Master, I said something wrong just now. I should have said that we can eat and drink well by following you. In the future, Master will be a legendary existence. If I follow Master, I will also bask in his glory." Hun glanced at the Blood Immortal indifferently and said, "Seal Feng Tianhan and give him to me." Alright. The Blood Immortal nodded. However, she didn't dare to disobey Zhuowen's order. She waved her right claw and blood lightning filled the air, binding Feng Tianhan tightly. Then, she went in front of Zhuowen and handed Feng Tianhan over to him. Zhuan took out the lightning disc and said to Feng Tianhan, "Are you sure this lightning disc is the key part of the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman? Is Lei Tingqin the only one who knows how to use this lightning disc in the entire Wind Thunder family?" Feng Tianhan's eyes flickered. He said in a deep voice, "This is the Wind Thunder family. Aren't you afraid of the Wind Thunder family by holding me and Tingqin hostage? This is not a powerful force that you can fight against. Your Wind Thunder family attacked me first. What's the use of saying this nonsense to me now? If you don't want to talk, I have plenty of ways to force you to talk." Zhuowen sneered. He pointed with his right hand and a drop of underworld water flew out from his fingertip. The drop of underworld water gushed out and entered Feng Tianhan's body. "What is this?" Feng Tianhan's originally calm face was suddenly filled with shock. He only felt that the essence energy in his body was being absorbed by a suction force at an unbelievable speed. Moreover, a heart-wrenching pain came from his body, causing him to involuntarily cry out in pain. Feng Tianhan's cheeks began to shrivel and his eyes bulged. At this moment, Feng Tianhan could clearly feel the fear and threat of death. Indeed, only Lei Tingqin can master the lightning disc. It's because of this that Lei Tingqin was appointed as the successor of the lightning lineage, Feng Tianhan suddenly said. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and extracted the underworld water droplet from Feng Tianhan's body. Feng Tianhan heaved a sigh of relief. The saint energy in Zhuowen's palm spat out and sealed all the meridians on Feng Tianhan's body. Then he kept him in the Azure Dragon Palace. With a wave of his right hand, he grabbed Lei Tingqin, who was bound by chains, out. After unlocking the chains on Lei Tingqin, Zhuowen said in a deep voice, "How to use the lightning disc and integrate it into the lightning wings?" Lei Tingqin's meridians were sealed and her body was weak. When she heard Zhuowen mention her, she sneered and said, "You want to know how to use the lightning disc? You don't have to think about it. I won't tell you even if I die. Don't think that I won't dare to kill you just because you know how to use the lightning disc," Zhuowen said with a murderous aura. Lei Tingqin's beautiful eyes flickered as she stared coldly at Zhuowen. She was gambling. She knew that the lightning disc was the key to the lightning saint talisman. Once it was combined with the lightning saint talisman, it would unleash the true power of the lightning saint talisman. Zhuowen had the lightning saint talisman, but he lacked the lightning disc. She was the only one who knew how to use the lightning disc. She was of great value to Zhuowen. She knew that Zhuowen wouldn't kill her so easily. Zhuowen glanced deeply at Lei Tingqin, and then he waved his right hand. Suddenly, the clothes on Lei Tingqin's body were completely shredded, and a peerlessly beautiful body that was white like mutton fat appeared before Zhuowen's eyes. "You?" Lei Tingqin cried out. She wanted to cover herself, but she found that her entire body was imprisoned and she couldn't move at all. She could only watch as her entire body was seen by the strange man in front of her. At this moment, Lei Tingqin's cheeks were red and her beautiful eyes were filled with anger. She shouted, "You shameless bastard!" Zhuowen's eyes were cold. He said coldly, "I don't have time to dawdle with you. If you don't tell me, I'll immediately take you outside and let all the cultivators in Wind Thunder City, or even the entire Wind Thunder Mansion, see your current appearance." Lei Tingqin's eyes were filled with fear when she heard Zhuowen's words. Currently, she was still a virgin and had never come into contact with any man. If Zhuowen were to mention this to the outside world, it was likely that her reputation and the reputation of the lightning lineage would be ruined. Moreover, she would probably no longer have the face to go out and see others. This would become a stain and shame for the rest of her life. "You dare?" Lei Tingqin lost her sense of propriety and could not help but grumble coquettishly. Zhuowen clenched his right hand and grabbed the softness in front of Lei Tingqin, causing the latter to moan. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shame. "You can try whether I dare or not. I, Zhuowen, always keep my word," Zhuowen said indifferently. Lei Tingqin's beautiful eyes flickered. In the end, she lowered her head and sighed, "I'll tell you. However, if I tell you how to use the lightning disc, you must let me go and not harm my life." Zhuowen formed a seal with his right hand and a blood-red formation immediately appeared on his chest. He said indifferently, "I, Zhuowen, am willing to swear on my life that if you really tell me how to use the lightning disc and help me fuse with the lightning wings, I will definitely not harm your life. However, if you go back on your words, don't blame me for going against my oath. Lei Tingqin only relaxed when she saw Zhuowen swearing on his life. Her body was extremely awkward and her cheeks were flushed as she said, "Why aren't you releasing the seal on my body? Also, with my current appearance, I need to change my clothes." Alright. Zhuowen nodded. He tapped a few acupuncture points on Lei Tingqin's body with his sword finger and allowed her to regain her freedom of movement. However, Lei Tingqin's dantian was still sealed by Zhuowen. At this moment, she could not mobilize any saint energy and was just like an ordinary person. Lei Tingqin, who regained her mobility, immediately covered her sensitive parts with her hands. At the same time, she took out a blue dress from her spirit ring and said in a deep voice, "Don't turn around." Zhuowen, however, looked at Lei Tingqin lazily and said, "To prevent you from running away, why should I turn around?" "Master is right. Why should we turn around? You're pretty and have a great body. Why don't you be be our master's concubine?" The blood immortal on the side quickly agreed. However, her blood-red eyes revealed a touch of lust. However, after seeing Zhuowen's cold gaze, the blood immortal quickly changed her words and said, "No, concubine, you're not qualified either. Be my master's maid." Looking at the blood immortal who spoke so impudently, Lei Tingqin's face turned red and white. Especially the blood immortal's gaze, she felt extremely disgusted. With a soft sigh, Lei Tingqin graciously changed into the new dress in front of the two of them. Her gaze also became extraordinarily calm. After changing, Lei Tingqin looked at Zhuowen in front of her with a complicated expression. Her body had never been seen by a man before. However, today, Zhuowen had seen everything. However, after Zhuowen finished looking at it, his eyes did not reveal any surprise or other expression. Instead, there was only calmness and indifference. This caused Lei Tingqin to feel somewhat sullen in her heart. Lei Tingqin's beauty was definitely top-notch. There were an unknown number of people who had pursued her in the Wind Thunder City. Moreover, she was extremely confident in her appearance and figure. However, Zhuowen was actually indifferent towards her. This caused her to feel a little defeated. Lei Tingqin even began to doubt if she was not charming enough. "Now, should we talk about how to use the lightning disc?" Zhuowen's cold and indifferent voice was transmitted once again, interrupting Lei Tingqin's absent-minded state. Immediately, Lei Tingqin nodded her head slightly. She took out a jade strip from her bosom and said, "This jade strip contains the method to use the lightning disc. You only need to follow the method inside." Chapter 1677. Real lightning wings. Lei Tingqin frowned slightly. She was extremely unwilling, but when she saw Zhuowen's cold expression, she could not help but feel her heart tremble. She suddenly regretted that she had schemed against such a person. After all, she and the Wind and Thunder clan had no enmity with Zhuowen in the past. However, she had provoked Zhuowen and ended up like this. "Do I have no other choice?" Lei Tingqin sighed. "What do you think?" Zhuowen said indifferently, "I understand. I'll help you combine the lightning wings and the lightning disc. However, you must remember your promise." Lei Tingqin said in a deep voice. Zhuowen nodded. He suddenly took off Lei Tingqin's spirit ring and put it into his bag without any hesitation. At the same time, he undid all the seals on Lei Tingqin's body. Lei Tingqin was not ordinary. There might be some kind of trump card in her spirit ring, so Zhuowen had to be cautious. Lei Tingqin's beautiful eyes moved. She did not say anything about Zhuowen's actions, but there was a trace of contempt in her eyes. Zhuowen gave the blood immortal a look. The blood immortal nodded and dutifully blocked the only exit of the stone hall to prevent Lei Tingqin from escaping. After doing all this, Zhuowen took a deep breath. With a thought, a 10-meter-long pair of purple lightning wings appeared on his back. Afterward, Zhuowen formed a seal with his hands and the pair of purple lightning wings immediately collapsed. In the end, they turned into 3 pairs of lightning wings that looked very lifelike. Lei Tingqin's beautiful eyes lit up when she saw the 3 lightning wings on Zhuowen's back. She murmured softly, It really is the 3 lightning wings formed by a lightning saint symbol. I never thought that you would have such a thing. Cut the crap. Let's begin. Zhuan ignored Lei Tingqin's sigh. With a flick of his right hand, he immediately took out the lightning disc. The surface of the lightning disc was still dim. The lightning on the surface was also much weaker. However, the lightning disc was still struggling, as if it was going to escape from Zhuowen's hand at any time. Lei Tingqin looked at Zhuowen in front of her and then at the blood immortal behind her. She knew that she had no way out. Hand the lightning disc to me. I'll activate it and the lightning disc will automatically fuse with the lightning wings. However, the lightning disc doesn't belong to you. Whether or not you can control it after the 2 fuse is not up to me, Lei Tingqin said indifferently. Don't worry, I know. Now, help me activate this lightning disc. Zhuowen said indifferently. Lei Tingqin nodded and flicked her hand. Lei Tingqin's hand. Tingqin moved Tingqin's hand. Lei Tingqin's Tingqin. Tingqin's lightning. Tingqin's eyes Tingqin's eyes. Tingqin's Tingqin's. Tingqin. Tingqin's. Tingqin's. Tingqin. Tingqin's. 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 The lightning became denser and denser. The area around the lightning disc was completely covered by lightning. Furthermore, it formed a ring shape, which looked quite strange. Buzz. Buzz. The moment the tingle formed, Zhuan could clearly feel the 3 pairs of lightning wings on his back vibrating violently. The vibrations were getting more and more intense. In the end, the 3 pairs of lightning wings separated from Zhuowen's back. Zhuan watched everything in silence. The 3 pairs of lightning wings flew in front of Lei Tingqin. Then, Lei Tingqin's face was filled with seriousness. She formed seals with both of her hands and a lightning pillar shot out from the center of the lightning disc. The surface of the lightning pillar was covered with countless lightning strands. The lightning strands were like lightning snakes. At that moment, the 3 pairs of lightning wings flew above the lightning pillar. The lightning pillar hit the 3 pairs of lightning wings. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Countless lightning bolts surged and formed a lightning liquid around the 3 pairs of lightning wings. The lightning liquid was liquid, as if it was flowing. It contained dense lightning. Soon after, Zhuowen was shocked to discover that the lightning plate below had begun to slowly rise along with the lightning pillar, gradually approaching the 3 pairs of lightning wings above. In the end, the lightning disc and the lightning wings completely merged together under Zhuowen's gaze. In an instant, the lightning in the lightning wings was extremely dense. The flashing lightning was even more dazzling than the sun. It was almost blinding. Zhuowen's eyes were as bright as torches. He could clearly sense that the lightning wings and lightning disc, which had originally been tightly attached to each other, had completely fused together within this lightning glow. He seemed to be able to see the 3 pairs of lightning wings that were bathed in the lightning. At that moment, they were growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. They grew from the original 10 feet to 100 feet. Almost the entire stone hall was under the lightning wings. Rumble! Under the lightning wings, countless lightning bolts were released. The blue light flashed too quickly. It was as fast as lightning. Zhuowen took a few steps back. He pushed his right hand in the air. The saint energy in his palm spat out and formed a strong protective light shield in front of him. It blocked the terrifying lightning that was spreading towards him. Looks like it's about to take shape. Zhuowen stared at the 3 pairs of lightning wings that were filled with endless lightning. A fervent look appeared in his eyes. He could clearly feel that the aura on the 3 pairs of lightning wings was becoming stronger and stronger. It was as if they were really terrifying lightning that fell from the 9 heavens. The moment the lightning glow spread to its limit, the frightening lightning glow began to slowly shrink. Moreover, the speed at which it was shrinking was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, the lightning glow that originally filled the entire stone hall had completely shrunk. In the middle of the stone hall, 3 pairs of lightning wings that were 100 feet long quietly floated above the stone hall. The aura on the 3 pairs of lightning wings was many times more terrifying than before. At that moment, a smile appeared at the corner of Zhuowen's mouth. He could clearly feel that the lightning wings were much more powerful than before they merged with the lightning disc. Thinking of this, Yuan stomped his right foot and swept towards the lightning wings. However, the moment he was 10 meters away from the lightning wings, terrifying lightning suddenly burst out from the surface of the lightning wings. Like an arrow that was released from a bow, it swept towards Yuan. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed. He snorted coldly and swung his sleeve. The lightning that swept towards him was immediately blocked by Zhuan. "Miss Lei, what's going on?" Zhuan looked at Lei Tingqin and asked coldly. Lei Tingqin's beautiful eyes flickered. She took a few steps back and said, "Didn't I say before? The lightning disk is not yours to begin with. Therefore, after merging with the lightning wings, it might not listen to you. It's normal for it to attack you now." "Since it's normal, why did Miss Lei take a step back?" Zhuan said coldly. Lei Tingqin's eyes narrowed. Just as she was about to say something, a terrifying sound that broke through the air came from behind her. She saw the blood immortal pouncing towards her like a hungry wolf. Lei Tingqin's face instantly turned gloomy. She immediately pinched her jade-like hands. Instantly, the giant lightning wings pierced through the air and swept towards Lei Tingqin's back. The lightning disk in the center of the lightning wings was like a machine. It finally pressed against Lei Tingqin's back. In an instant, endless lightning spread out. The pair of lightning wings immediately gathered and wrapped Lei Tingqin inside. Boom, boom, boom. The blood immortal swept over. Her right claw fiercely hit the oval lightning ball formed by the lightning wings. However, the moment her right claw hit the surface of the lightning ball, her right claw was immediately repelled. Moreover, the lightning on the surface of the lightning ball was repelled towards the blood immortal. "This chick is really insidious." The blood immortal snorted coldly. Her right claw swiped across the air. The blood lightning on her claw gushed out and formed a blood lightning blade light. It directly destroyed the lightning that was coming towards her. The blood immortal then retreated to Zhuowen's side. "Master, the blood immortal wanted to say something but was stopped by Zhuan. At this moment, Zhuan was terrifyingly calm. He stared at the lightning ball formed by the lightning wings indifferently and said lightly, "Miss Lei, what do you mean by this?" Sizzle. Sizzle. Lei Tingqin's lightning wings opened. At this moment, the lightning wings on her back were hundreds of meters long. Countless lightning poured down and surrounded Lei Tingqin, making her look like the goddess of lightning. Lei Tingqin's face was filled with excitement. She laughed and said, "Mr. Zhuo, thank you for your lightning wings. Everyone says that the lightning disk is the core of the lightning element in the wind thunder saint symbol. However, the lightning disk has an even more important function. It is the control center of the lightning element. The lightning disk is controlled by me. When the lightning disk and the lightning wings combine, the lightning wings will only be controlled by me." "Mr. Zhuo, you didn't expect this, did you?" Lei Tingqin floated in the air above the stone hall and looked down at Zhuowen. The corner of her mouth curled into an enchanting smile. Her beautiful eyes were filled with pride. She really wanted to see what kind of expression Zhuowen would have at this moment. However, when her gaze noticed Zhuowen, she was stunned. Because Zhuowen's face didn't have the rage, unwillingness, and brutality that she imagined. Instead, it was like a lake without ripples in an ancient well, and it was terrifyingly calm. "Miss Lei, are you sure you want to do this? If you hand over the lightning wings to me, you might have a chance to live. Otherwise, you won't have another chance," Zhuowen said calmly. Lei Tingqin looked at Zhuowen's calm eyes and frowned slightly. However, she sneered secretly, "Are you trying to act mysterious? Do you think I will fall for it?" As she spoke, Lei Tingqin opened her wings. Suddenly, lightning flashed and she flew towards the exit like a wisp of green smoke. "Master, are we just going to let her go like this?" Blood Immortal said unwillingly. Zhuan didn't answer. Instead, he said calmly, "Since this is your choice, don't regret it." As he spoke, Zhuan made a gesture with his right hand. Lei Tingqin, who was about to fly out of the exit, suddenly trembled and fell to the ground. Her whole body was twitching. If one looked closely, there were a few underworld water droplets on the surface of the lightning wings. They flew out like yellow lightning and went into the depths of Lei Tingqin's body through her neck. Chapter 1678. Leyland thump, thump, thump. Zhuan walked over slowly. He looked down indifferently at Lei Tingqin, who was twitching on the ground. Don't kill me. I'll give you the lightning wings and let me live. Are you going to break your promise? Lei Tingqin was extremely terrified. Her eyes rolled up and her body quickly shriveled up. Zhuan said before that I'm willing to swear on my life that if you really tell me how to use the lightning disc and help me fuse with the lightning wings, I, Zhuan, will not harm your life. If you go back on your words, don't blame Zhuan for breaking his promise. But now that you've gone back on your words, don't blame me. Zhuan's eyes were filled with coldness. However, Lei Tingqin continued to struggle. She even crawled in front of Zhuan and begged, "Spare me, I won't do it again." Zhuan waved his finger. Immediately, Lei Tingqin screamed and turned into a dried corpse. 20 underworld water droplets flew out from her body. Zhuan squinted his eyes as he looked at the 20 underworld water droplets. He did not expect Lei Tingqin to produce 20 underworld water droplets. This woman's sins were so great that it was beyond Zhuan's expectation. With Lei Tingqin's death, the originally extremely tyrannical lightning wings suddenly became a lot quieter. Even the lightning disc at the center of the lightning wings no longer showed any signs of overreaction. It seems that the abnormality of Lei Yi was indeed caused by this Lei Tingqin. How much of what she said before was true is still up for debate. Zhuan did not show any mercy after killing Lei Tingqin. From the day Lei Tingqin schemed against him, Zhuan knew that Lei Tingqin was probably not a good person. Now that this woman was dead, he naturally had no need to pity her. Master is wise. I didn't expect the lightning wings to have a hidden secret. I really have a whole new level of respect for you. The blood immortal flew to Zhuan's side and immediately flattered him. However, Zhuan did not pay any attention to the blood immortal. Lei Tingqin was originally a scheming woman. Zhuan did not completely trust her. Hence, he left some underworld water droplets on the lightning wings. Originally, if Lei Tingqin had really followed the agreement and handed the lightning wings to him after fusing with them, Zhuan would naturally be willing to let her go. Unfortunately, Lei Tingqin did not know what was good for her. Note: Zhuan waved his right hand and the lightning wings gradually shrunk to the size of a palm and landed in Zhuan's palm. The lightning wings are finally complete. I can feel that the lightning wings are now much faster than before. If this pair of wings is combined with the explosion step and the void rules, it should be able to increase the speed to an extremely terrifying level. I wonder how it compares to the teleportation of an earthly immortal? Zhuan murmured. It should be about the same. After fusing with the thunder plate, your lightning wings are close to completion. It is comparable to the teleportation of an earthly immortal. Xiao He said in a deep voice. Zhuan squinted his eyes and said, "Is it comparable to the teleportation of an earthly immortal? Since that's the case, I'm not in a hurry to leave the Wind Lightning Manor. Since the Wind Lightning clan and the Ice Fire clan both want to kill me, even though my words carry little weight, I'll still bite back at them and let them know that I'm not so easily provoked." Master, what do you mean? There are earthly immortals and even celestial immortals fighting outside. If we don't take advantage of this time to escape, when will we be able to? The blood immortal was frightened and could not help but admit defeat. Zhuan glanced at the blood immortal and said indifferently, "You are too eye-catching. Of course, I will not let you out. Get into the spiritual ring." With that, Zhuan waved his sleeve and called the blood immortal into the spiritual ring. Wind and Thunder family, Ice and Fire family. Today, I will use your two families to practice the killing finger of hell. Zhuan grinned, revealing a cold smile. Then he slowly walked out of the exit. His appearance and aura changed completely the moment he walked out. He now looked like Feng Tianhan. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, in the sky thousands of miles away from the Wind and Thunder City, the battle between Feng Lei Wuji and Jiang Binghan was still going on. Both of them had holy talismans. Although their holy talismans were not complete, their power was still not to be underestimated. In addition, their cultivations were similar. It would be difficult for this battle to end without a few days. In the sky above the Wind and Thunder City, The elites of the Wind and Thunder family and Ice and Fire family were still fighting. The battle between the two sides had almost reached its climax. As for the two patriarchs of the Wind and Thunder family, Jiang Zuomei and Jiang Zhe of the Ice and Fire family, they had fled far away from the Wind and Thunder city. When Zhuan walked out of the attic, he found that the Wind and Thunder family was surrounded by a large number of mansion soldiers. Zhuan scanned with his mind and found that there were at least 1,000 of them. All of them were saints. There were two leaders in this group of mansion soldiers. Both of them were half-immortals. One of them was patrolling the Wind lineage while the other was patrolling the Thunder lineage. The attic that Zhuan was in was surrounded by more than a dozen armored mansion soldiers. When they saw Zhuan walk out of the attic, they all knelt on one knee and respectfully said, "Greetings, young Lord Feng." Zhuan was expressionless. He slowly walked down the stairs of the attic. When Zhuan did not answer, the mansion soldiers naturally felt embarrassed. They all lowered their heads and knelt on one knee. When Zhuan walked to the center of the group of mansion soldiers, more than a dozen yellow spring water droplets suddenly flew out from his body and quietly entered the space between the brows of the mansion soldiers. Bang, bang, bang. The mansion soldiers did not guard against Zhuan at all. When the yellow spring water droplets entered their space between their brows, they instantly turned into more than a dozen dried corpses. Then, the yellow spring water droplets flew out from these dried corpses and entered Zhuan's body. These mansion soldiers added 40 yellow spring water droplets to Zhuan's inventory. Including the 20 yellow spring water droplets from Lei Tingqin, Zhuan had a total of 300 yellow spring water droplets on him. After dealing with the corpses of the mansion soldiers, Zhuan walked out of the courtyard. It had to be said that Feng Tianhan's identity was very useful. As long as Zhuan went out and encountered mansion soldiers, they would basically bow and salute him. However, Zhuan was more cautious. Normally, if he encountered a large number of mansion soldiers, he would not make a move. Only when he encountered a small number of mansion soldiers and was in a more remote courtyard would he use thunderous means to kill the mansion soldiers. Along the way, Zhuan had killed nearly 100 of the prefectural soldiers of the Lightning Branch. By now, the leader of the Lightning Branch, Leilin, had realized that something was off and had begun to investigate the disappearance of the prefectural soldiers. Zhuan naturally stopped at this moment. His yellow spring water droplets had rapidly increased to 500 droplets. "It's time to make a trip to the Wind faction," Zhuan muttered in a low voice. He planned to leave the Thunder faction's mansion, but when he reached the border of the Thunder faction's territory, he was surrounded by a group of mansion soldiers. A middle-aged man wearing thunder armor and riding a tall horse rapidly approached. He immediately passed by the mansion soldiers and landed in front of Zhuan. "Young Master Feng, where do you plan to go?" Leilin looked down at Zhuan and asked indifferently. Zhuan's eyes were like torches. He stared at Leilin calmly and said indifferently, "What is the meaning of this, Chief Lei?" "I plan to return to the Wind faction." "Does Chief Lei also want to meddle in other people's business?" Leilin's eyes were cold. He said coldly, "I heard from my subordinates that young Master Feng entered the ancestral land with our Mississippi. Why is young Master Feng coming out alone? Where is our miss?" "You mean Tingqin? She still has some matters to deal with in the ancestral land and might be a little late. That's why she hasn't come out yet. If you don't believe me, go to the ancestral land and take a look yourselves," Zhuan said indifferently. Leilin frowned and said, "Young Master Feng really knows how to joke. The ancestral land is not a place where subordinates like us can casually enter. I'm just asking." "If that's the case, can Chief Lei step aside now?" Zhuan smiled faintly. Leilin's eyes flickered. He cupped his fists and said, "I still have something to ask young Master Feng. Since young Master Feng left the ancestral land, our Thunder faction's 500 mansion soldiers have decreased by nearly 100. I wonder if young Master Feng knows what happened?" Zhuan looked deeply at Leilin and said, "Chief Lei, are you suspecting me?" Leilin took a deep breath, cupped his fists and lowered his head, saying, "I dare not. It's just that there are indeed many suspicious points, so I have to be cautious." Zhuan sneered. Soon after, he roared, "Where is Feng Shao?" This roar immediately received a response from the Wind faction's mansion on the other side. Immediately, a young man in white armor led a group of Wind faction's mansion soldiers and gathered. He walked in front of Jun and knelt on one knee. Feng Xiao is here. What orders does young master have? Zhuan pointed at Lei Lin and said, Chief Lei said that more than 100 of their Thunder faction's mansion soldiers have gone missing. Now he suspects that these missing mansion soldiers have something to do with me. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Ha! It's really ridiculous and preposterous. Lei Lin, you can't manage your own army, but you actually suspect our young master. You have ulterior motives, don't you? Feng Xiao laughed as if he had encountered the funniest joke. The mansion soldiers brought by Feng Xiao also laughed wildly, causing Lei Lin's face to turn green and white. Finally, he cupped his fists toward Zhuan with a black face and said, Young Master Feng, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Goodbye. After speaking, Lei Lin led the Thunder faction's mansion soldiers and turned to leave. He did not want to stay at all. Young Master, this Lei Lin is really audacious. He actually suspects you. It's really ridiculous. Feng Xiao came to Zhuowen's side and grinned. There's no need to pay attention to this fellow. We'll return to the Wind faction. Right? You guys can't let your guard down either. The Icefire clan might have other reinforcements. You absolutely cannot let your guard down, Zhuowen reminded. Chapter 1679. Yellow Spring Feng Xiao respectfully escorted Zhuowen into the Wind Clan's mansion like a myriad of stars surrounding the moon. In the spacious hall, Zhuan sat at the head of the table and said to Feng Xiao, who was standing respectfully below, Feng Xiao, nearly 100 people have gone missing in the Lightning faction. Did something similar happen in our Wind faction? Feng Xiao sneered, Young Master, please be at ease. This will definitely not happen in our Wind faction. If anything, it can only be that Lei Lin's incompetence. He's obviously incompetent in managing his troops, causing his subordinates to go missing, yet he actually pointed the finger of suspicion at young master. How hateful! Zhuan nodded and said without a change in expression, Since this happened in the Lightning faction, then you should go to the Lightning faction to investigate. There's something strange about this matter. Go to the Lightning faction and investigate thoroughly. Otherwise, I'm afraid this will happen in our Wind faction. We can't let our guard down. Hearing this, Feng Xiao's expression turned solemn. He nodded and said, Young Master is indeed thoughtful. This subordinate will immediately bring a few trusted subordinates to the Lightning faction to take a look. Zhuan nodded without a change in expression and said, Be careful along the way, especially that Lei Lin. This person pointed the finger of suspicion at me. I'm afraid there's a trap. Feng Xiao's pupils shrank, revealing a look of understanding. He said, Young Master's reminder is right. If young master didn't say this subordinate wouldn't have known. That Lei Lin is indeed suspicious. This subordinate will go to the Lightning faction to investigate. Be careful. Zhuan nodded without batting an eyelid. Feng Xiao bowed again, then slowly retreated and quickly left the hall. At this moment, only Zhuan was left in the hall. After waiting for half an incense stick's time, Zhuowen's eyes suddenly burst with an intense light. He stood up and left the hall. Young master! Just as he walked out of the hall, more than a dozen soldiers in the courtyard were respectfully kneeling on the ground. Zhuan was silent, but the yellow spring water droplets in his body shot out silently like yellow lightning, reaping the lives of more than 10 prefecture soldiers in the courtyard. After destroying the corpses, Zhuan quietly left the courtyard. After confirming that Feng Xiao had left the Wind faction, Zhuan no longer restrained himself. Instead, he quickly began to harvest the many Wind faction mansion soldiers. Of course, even though Zhuan was no longer restraining himself, his movements were still very cautious. Basically, he would not expose himself. Once the prefecture soldiers realized that something was wrong, he would immediately silence them. Therefore, even though the Wind lineage's soldiers began to die in large numbers, they didn't suspect Zhuan. When more than 200 of the Wind faction soldiers were wiped out, no matter how slow they had already realized that something was wrong. In an instant, The remaining soldiers began to gather at the Wind faction's martial arts training ground. Every single one of them was on high alert, and every single one of them was on the alert. An atmosphere of panic began to spread among the Wind faction mansion soldiers. In a secluded alley not far from the martial arts arena, Zhuan stood quietly. At this moment, his body was covered in yellow spring water droplets. The yellow spring water droplets began to gather and eventually formed a yellow eyeball on Zhuan's shoulder. The eyeball's pupil was pitch black and the white of the eye was yellow. At first glance, one would have the illusion that they had entered the cycle of reincarnation. The eye of the yellow spring. I didn't expect that when the number of yellow spring water droplets reached 1,000, it would produce the eye of the yellow spring. Zhuan's eyes revealed a look of understanding. Previously, when the number of yellow spring water droplets in Zhuan's body reached 1,000, the yellow spring water droplets seemed to have boiled and moved strangely in Zhuan's body, eventually forming the eye of the yellow spring. The eye of the yellow spring did not have any offensive power, but it had an extremely useful ability, which was to see sins. Zhuan could see the sins in a warrior's body through the vision of the eye of the yellow spring. At this moment, Zhuan's consciousness sank into the eye of the yellow spring. Soon after, the eye of the yellow spring slowly floated in the air and quietly landed in a secluded corner of the martial arts arena. The eye of the yellow spring scanned the martial arts arena. In the martial arts arena, Zhuan no longer saw warriors through the eye of the yellow spring. Instead, he saw masses of sins that emitted bloody light. The stronger the bloody light, the heavier the sins. At this moment, in Zhuan's eyes, the warriors in the martial arts arena were more or less covered in sins. However, most of the bloody light did not exceed 10 feet. Of course, there were a few bloody lights that were extremely dazzling. They shot straight into the sky and extended to more than 10 feet. However, these bloody lights of sins that exceeded 10 feet were relatively rare among the mansion soldiers. Zhuan licked his lips and slowly walked into the martial arts arena. At this moment, in Zhuan's eyes, these mansion soldiers were no longer mansion soldiers, but a pile of nourishment that could be used to cultivate the massacre finger of hell. As soon as Zhuan entered the martial arts arena, the panicking mansion soldiers in the martial arts arena quieted down. They bowed and respectfully greeted Zhuan. "Greetings, young lord." Zhuan nodded and calmly walked into the large martial arts arena. He walked to the front of the mansion soldiers and asked indifferently, "Why are all of you so flustered?" The mansion soldiers looked at each other. One of them said in a deep voice, "More than 200 of our brothers have mysteriously disappeared. This situation is too similar to the mansion soldiers of the lightning lineage. I wonder what's going on?" Zhuan's eyes flickered. He frowned slightly and did not say a word. However, Zhuan's expression made the mansion soldiers present look at each other. None of them dared to speak. Suddenly, Zhuan waved his sleeve and summoned the spirit-devouring magma river. Boundless magma gushed out and instantly spread over the entire martial arts arena. Then, like a magma cage, it completely enveloped the martial arts arena. The terrifyingly high temperature spread, causing the surrounding mansion soldiers to become anxious. "Young lord, what is the meaning of this?" The mansion soldier who spoke reacted and asked Zhuan in a deep voice. Unfortunately, before the mansion soldier could finish his sentence, a yellow water droplet entered between his eyebrows at lightning speed. In an instant, the mansion soldier became a dried corpse. The surroundings fell into silence as soon as the mansion soldier died. Then, the remaining mansion soldiers looked at Zhuan with astonishment in their eyes. Of course, Zhuan did not give the mansion soldiers any time to think. Droplets of yellow springs shot out one after another. At this moment, the eye of yellow springs hovered quietly on Zhuan's shoulder. The eye of yellow springs was the source of the eye of yellow springs. "Kill!" Zhuan's body moved without any wind. Surrounded by yellow springs water droplets, he dashed out like a demon. In an instant, nearly 100 mansion soldiers were killed by him and turned into droplets of yellow springs water droplets. "This person is not the young lord." Everyone attacked together. Someone suddenly shouted. Then, the remaining 200 mansion soldiers flew toward Zhuowen with bloodshot eyes. They wanted to kill Zhuowen on the spot. Zhuowen, on the other hand, sneered again and again. The surrounding magma immediately sprouted huge and terrifying magma tentacles, entangling the 200 soldiers. Although they could not completely bind the mansion soldiers, they could slow down their movements by more than half a beat. Zhuowen was as fast as lightning. Like a demon from hell, he shuttled between the mansion soldiers in an instant. Relying on the obstruction of the spirit-devouring magma river, his explosive steps, and the law of the void, Zhuowen moved through the mansion soldiers as if he was invisible. The mansion soldiers died under the Yellow Springs water droplets. When Zhuowen walked out of the group of mansion soldiers, they all fell to the ground and turned into dried corpses. Countless Yellow Springs water droplets were suspended in the air from the dried corpses and entered Zhuowen's body. Another 1,000 Yellow Springs water droplets. Now, I have 2,000 Yellow Springs water droplets. I wonder how powerful the finger of Yellow Springs massacre will be with these 2,000 Yellow Springs water droplets. Zhuowen's eyes flickered. With a wave of his sleeve, the surrounding spirit-devouring magma river immediately shrank and incinerated all the dried corpses within it. Zhuowen, on the other hand, stepped out step by step and quietly stood in the martial arts practice field. Not long after, a figure suddenly rushed over from the Lightning Faction's mansion. Looking at the eerily quiet and sparse environment, Feng Xiao frowned as an ominous premonition rose in his heart. Soon, Feng Xiao rushed to the training field. At this moment he saw Zhuowen standing in the middle of the training field. He quickly went up to Zhuowen and asked, "Young master, where are the Wind Faction's mansion soldiers?" Zhuowen stared at Feng Xiao indifferently. This glance made Feng Xiao's heart tremble. At this moment, Feng Tianhan in front of him was extremely unfamiliar. "Young master, what the hell is going on?" Feng Xiao's eyes were gloomy as he slowly retreated. At this moment, Feng Tianhan in front of him was too unfamiliar. It was as if the Feng Tianhan in front of him was a completely different person. "Our Wind Faction's mansion soldiers are all dead," Zhuowen said with a sigh. Feng Xiao's pupils shrank. His body trembled as he asked in a trembling voice, Who did it?" Zhuowen stared at Feng Xiao. At this moment, a yellow eyeball appeared on Feng Xiao's shoulder. In Zhuowen's line of sight, Feng Xiao's sinful sanguine light had reached a height of 10 meters. "It's me," Zhuowen said indifferently. Feng Xiao's body trembled. At this moment, he fell into a state of absent-mindedness. It was also at this moment that a blood shadow suddenly swept out from behind Feng Xiao. A huge blood claw suddenly clawed at Feng Xiao's back. Feng Xiao's pupils shrank. At this critical moment, his body jerked to the side. However, the blood claw was too fast for him to dodge completely. He could only dodge it temporarily. Puchi. As the blood claw approached, Feng Xiao's right arm was crushed by the claw and turned into a bloody mist. Feng Xiao spat out a mouthful of blood and flew to the left. At that moment, Zhuowen also moved. He took a step forward, and an explosive sound was heard from under his feet. He was like an arrow that was shot out from a bow, and in an instant he arrived in front of Feng Xiao. Then he pointed his finger in the air. Whoosh! Chapter 1680. Slaughter. Feng Xiao's reaction was also very fast. Although his body was in a flying state, he forcibly twisted his body. With a flick of his finger, he took out a long white spear from his spirit ring. The surface of the spear was covered with countless wind blades, looking exceptionally strange and terrifying. Swoosh! Feng Xiao roared and twisted his right wrist. The white spear was like a poisonous snake. It swept out from a tricky angle and pierced toward Zhuowen's vital points. Zhuowen snorted coldly. The spirit-devouring lava river instantly turned into a shield in front of him, blocking the attack of the long spear. Then, Zhuowen stepped into the void and disappeared in front of Feng Xiao as fast as lightning. When Zhuowen appeared again, he was already behind Feng Xiao. He suddenly pressed his finger forward. It was so fast that it caused the wind to howl. Feng Xiao's expression changed. The white spear was entangled by the spirit-devouring lava river. At this moment he was defenseless. He had no choice but to gather saint energy in his right palm and punch out to meet Zhuowen's slaughtering finger of Acheron. At this moment, Zhuowen's aura was only at the Yang Sky Saint stage. Although Feng Xiao could feel the extraordinary power of Zhuowen's slaughtering finger of Acheron, he naturally did not think that his half-immortal strength would be inferior to Zhuowen's. Boom! The moment Feng Xiao's fist hit the slaughtering finger of Acheron, the indifference in his eyes instantly changed. He was shocked. Thump, thump, thump. An invisible ripple spread out. Feng Xiao's body trembled and he took a few steps back. On the other hand, Yun snorted and took a few steps back. His eyes gradually narrowed. The power of 2,000 drops of the slaughtering finger of Acheron is indeed not enough. I'm actually at a disadvantage against Feng Xiao, whose cultivation is at the half-immortal stage. The power of this finger should be at the heaven-defying saint stage. The moment Yun retreated, a myriad of thoughts ran through his mind. Feng Xiao, on the other hand, steadied his body. His face was filled with shock. If he wasn't mistaken, this person was only at the Sun-Sky Saint realm. Such a cultivation level should have been something he could destroy with a wave of his hand, but this person had forced him to retreat. This was truly unbelievable. Who are you? Feng Xiao took a deep breath and asked coldly. Zhuan remained silent. He waved his right hand and said, "Blood immortal." "Ha, Master, don't worry. This fellow is injured. I will immediately help you deal with this fellow." The blood immortal grinned, and the corners of her mouth were filled with a cruel smile. After she finished speaking, she leaped forward and swept towards Feng Xiao as fast as lightning. Feng Xiao's expression was ugly. He waved his sleeve and shouted, "Leilin, come and help me." After Feng Xiao finished speaking, the surging saint force spread all over his body, forming extremely terrifying wind blades. However, these wind blades weren't used to attack. Instead, they surrounded Feng Xiao's body in layers, forming a terrifying wind defense. Zhuan squinted his eyes. This Feng Xiao was very smart. He knew that he was injured by the Blood Immortal's sneak attack, and his strength was greatly reduced. If he continued to fight with them, he would definitely be defeated, and even his life would be in danger. Therefore, he immediately thought of asking for Leilin's help. "Kill this person as soon as possible." Zhuowen's gaze grew colder as he said in a deep voice. The Blood Immortal nodded repeatedly. Her attacks suddenly became much fiercer. She used both her hands and feet. Countless blood thunders exploded around Feng Xiao like countless bombs, bursting out countless ripples of aftershocks. However, this was the wind blade defense that Feng Xiao used with all his strength. Although he was injured, if he didn't attack and only defended, even if the Blood Immortal used all her strength, it wouldn't be that easy to break through his defense. Zhuowen's expression was extremely gloomy. He could feel the swift and fierce wind behind him, and knew that Leilin was probably rushing towards the Wind Faction's residence at top speed. The first Yangdao sword, the 9th Yangdao sword. Zhuan took a deep breath and waved his right sleeve. He immediately took out the first Yangdao sword and the 9th Yangdao sword. At the same time, he also took out the iron folding fan that he snatched from Jiang Binhan. With a wave of his right hand, a terrifying black storm suddenly swept out from the iron folding fan. The black storm was extremely terrifying. It soared into the sky and blasted on Feng Xiao's defense. The first Yangdao sword and the 9th Yangdao sword also arrived on time. Rumble! In an instant, the frightening wind blade defense that surrounded Feng Xiao actually began to tremble intensely. Within the wind blade defense, a soft muffled groan was emitted. Clearly, Feng Xiao, who was hiding within the wind blade defense, did not have it easy either. Zhuowen's gaze was like a torch. His forehead split open, and the Buddha demon eye was revealed. The two terrifying forces of Buddha and demon were like two pillars of gold and black light that soared into the sky, dispersing the dark clouds in the sky. The Buddha kowtows to the heavens, the 5th kowtow to the heavens. The Buddha demon eye opened, and the Buddha Tao energy soared into the sky. Under the sky, a terrifying giant Buddha shadow was formed. The Buddha shadow bowed towards the sky and continuously kowtowed 5 times. Instantly, the oval-shaped void within 100 feet of the Buddha shadow cracked like glass. Finally, it shattered into countless pieces. The cracking force transmitted to the wind blade defense, causing the wind blades on the surface of the defense to become increasingly dim and sparse. During this time, the groans that came from it also became more intense. Zhuowen's gaze became even colder. The Buddha demon eye between his brows opened again. His eyeballs had completely turned pitch black, and billowing demonic chi wantonly surged around his eyeballs. The top 10 forbidden grounds of the devil, the 5 forbidden cold grounds. For a moment, a cold demonic chi surged in the place where the Buddha shadow was kowtowing. This black demonic chi was ink black, and it was full of demonic chi. This demonic chi cracked open, and an ice-blue demonic hand appeared from within. This demonic hand was too huge. It grabbed the wind blade defense that had shrunk into a ball, and then suddenly squeezed. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the wind blade defense. The cracks grew larger and larger, and finally, it completely collapsed. Feng Zhao's voice was even more pronounced. At this moment, Feng Zhao's face was as pale as snow. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth, and his eyes were dull. After being continuously injured, Feng Zhao was already at the end of his rope. After all, the Blood Immortal's strength was not much weaker than his. She was even slightly stronger than him. In the beginning, Feng Zhao was heavily injured by the Blood Immortal's sneak attack. In addition, Zhuowen continuously used the first Yang sword, the second Yang sword, and the substandard immortal weapon, the Iron Folding Fan. Coupled with the power of the Buddha Demon Eye and the Blood Immortal's attack, how could Feng Zhao, who was already injured, withstand all these attacks? Stop! At this moment, the Thunder lineage Leylin was still rapidly approaching. Leylin's hair was standing straight, and his eyes were glaring. The thunder armor on his body was bursting with extremely terrifying thunder, as if he was the thunder god that had descended to the world. Zhuowen glanced at Leylin indifferently. He took a step and instantly disappeared. When he swept out again, he was already above Feng Zhao. Go to the ends of the world, go to the depths of the Yellow Springs. Slaughter finger of the Yellow Springs, kill for me. Zhuowen pointed his finger at Feng Zhao's forehead without hesitation. Suddenly, 2,000 Yellow Springs water droplets gathered at his fingertip, forming a yellow spike, and pierced into Feng Zhao's forehead. Feng Zhao roared angrily. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. He raised both his hands, wanting to block Zhuowen's attack. Unfortunately, the first Yang sword and 9th Yang sword both swept over and cut Feng Zhao's arms. Puchi! Immediately, both of Feng Zhao's arms were chopped off. Zhuowen's right hand smoothly touched Feng Zhao's forehead. Immediately, extremely bitter blood spurted out. Feng Zhao let out a miserable cry and completely turned into a dried corpse. As soon as Feng Zhao died, Leylin led the 400 soldiers of the Lightning faction over in a grandiose manner. The moment he saw that Feng Zhao had died at Zhuowen's hands, his expression became extremely ugly. Who are you? Leylin's eyes were filled with anger. He had just checked the mansion of the Wind lineage and found that all the soldiers were dead. The rest were all warriors below the Saint Realm. These warriors were too weak. Zhuowen naturally disdained to kill them. After all, the mainstay of the Wind and Thunder family should be the soldiers. If he killed all the soldiers, it would definitely be a great loss to the Wind and Thunder family. After discovering the tragic state of the Wind lineage, Leylin immediately connected the disappearance of the 100 soldiers of the Thunder lineage. It must have something to do with this youth who was pretending to be Feng Tianhan. However, Leylin was a little puzzled. The aura of the person in front of him was too similar to Feng Tianhan's. If Zhuowen hadn't done such a thing, Leylin wouldn't have thought that Feng Tianhan was fake. Blood Immortal, hold this Leylin back. Zhuowen indifferently ordered the Blood Immortal behind him. The Blood Immortal laughed strangely and said, "Master, don't worry. I will definitely do as you say and hold this Leylin back." After saying that, the Blood Immortal roared loudly and rushed towards Leylin as fast as lightning. Leylin snorted coldly. Lightning surrounded his body. His hands took out two huge thunder hammers and faced the blood immortal. Boom, 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 boom. The two immediately engaged in a fierce battle. Terrifying shockwaves erupted from the explosion. Blood red and blue lightning intertwined with each other, erupting with terrifying sizzling sounds that were extremely ear-piercing. Zhuowen's gaze was cold. His gaze fell on the remaining 400 soldiers of the Thunder lineage. With a stomp of his right foot, the spirit-devouring lava river, the iron-folding fan, the first Yang sword, and the ninth Yang sword burst out with 4 terrifying weapons. Lightning formation. Kill this person. Leyland's gaze was cold as he couldn't help but shout. The 400 soldiers didn't show any fear. They all looked as if they were ready to die. They actually followed Leyland's instructions and moved in a strange pace, circling the surroundings. Each of the mansion soldiers unleashed powerful thunderbolts. In an instant, the terrifying thunderbolts stacked together and formed a giant of thunderbolts that was thousands of feet tall. Boom! The 400 soldiers cooperated with each other very well. They formed a terrifying lightning giant, and with a stomp of its foot, the earth cracked. A huge hand suddenly blasted toward Zhuowen. Lightning burst out from its body like the 9 heavens thunder. It was extremely terrifying. Playing with lightning in front of me? The corner of Zhuowen's mouth curled up. Immediately, 3 pairs of terrifying lightning wings sprouted from his back. These lightning wings were hundreds of feet long. Chapter 1681. Infuriated wind and lightning bang. Bang, bang. After all the lightning on the lightning giant was absorbed by the lightning wings, the 400 soldiers in the array spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with shock. This is the lightning wings of the wind and lightning sacred symbol? This brat stole the lightning wings of our lightning faction. The 400 soldiers were terrified. The lightning wings were a treasure of the lightning lineage, and they were passed down from their ancestors. Most of the lightning lineage's cultivation techniques were related to lightning. The lightning-based part of the wind-thunder sacred symbol could be said to be the origin of the lightning-based lineage. With the appearance of the lightning wings, the lightning-based soldiers of the lightning-based lineage had to submit obediently. As long as Zhuowen had the lightning wings, he would be invincible against the lightning lineage. Here, take this lightning. Zhuowen sneered. With 3 pairs of lightning wings on his back, he swept across the sky and arrived above the 400 soldiers. Then, the lightning absorbed from the lightning giant poured down. Thunderbolts covered the sky. The energy contained in the thunderbolts was too terrifying. When the thunderbolts struck down, the 400 soldiers screamed in agony. With the lightning wings on his back, Zhuowen was too fast. He shuttled through the 400 soldiers in an instant. Every time he flashed, he would take the lives of several soldiers. Because Zhuowen's lightning was too powerful, it was enough to exhaust the 400 soldiers. Therefore, Zhuowen didn't have much trouble killing them. In about 20 breaths' time, Zhuowen flashed past the 400 soldiers and turned them into lifeless corpses. Zhuowen's yellow spring water droplets had increased to more than 3,000. When the number of yellow spring water droplets reached 1,000, the eye of the yellow spring appeared. Now that the number of yellow spring water droplets has reached 3,000, no other ability has appeared. Perhaps the next ability will only appear when the number of yellow spring water droplets reaches 10,000. Zhuowen had been observing the process of the yellow spring water droplets increasing. He knew that if the yellow spring water droplets could form the eye of the yellow spring, there might be other abilities that would appear. However, Zhuowen was disappointed that the number of yellow spring water droplets had increased to 3,000, but the second ability still hadn't appeared. He guessed that the next ability would only appear when the number of yellow spring water droplets reached 10,000. You are Zhuowen? Where is Miss Tingqin from our lightning lineage? What did you do to her? Not far away, Leylin, who was entangled with the blood immortal, could not help but retreat. He looked at the 400 soldiers that had been killed, and his eyes were filled with gloom and anger. Of course, there was also a hint of shock. Why hasn't the patriarch returned? I've already informed the patriarch of the abnormalities here. He should be back by now. Lei Lin began to panic and couldn't help but think to himself. Zhuan glanced at Chuan Chen indifferently. He could tell that Chuan Chen was trying to stall for time, so he waved his right hand and said to the Blood Immortal, "Continue attacking and kill this person as soon as possible." After receiving Zhuowen's order, the Blood Immortal seemed to have taken an aphrodisiac. She attacked Chuan Chen with all her might. Blood lightning filled the sky. When Chuan Chen saw Zhuowen's lightning wings, he became timid and didn't want to continue fighting. He was suppressed by the Blood Immortal. Just as Chuan Chen was exhausted from running, Zhuowen's lightning wings unfolded and instantly swept behind Chuan Chen. He pointed his right finger at the back of Chuan Chen's head with lightning speed. There was almost no shadow of the finger. "No!" Chuan Chen roared angrily. He wanted to struggle, but all the essence in his body was absorbed by Zhuowen's right finger. He finally turned into a shriveled corpse. The moment Zhuowen killed Lei Lin, an extremely ominous premonition arose in Zhuowen's heart. Shortly after, dark clouds filled the sky and a bolt of lightning as thick as a water bucket struck down. Zhuowen didn't hesitate. He immediately commanded the first Yangdao sword and the 9th Yangdao sword to rush over. They transformed into two blazing suns in front of Zhuowen. Boom! The lightning bolt struck and immediately exploded into countless threads of lightning. Zhuowen groaned and retreated with the first Yangdao sword and the 9th Yangdao sword. His face was slightly pale, and his eyes were extremely cold. "You bastard, how dare you kill all the soldiers of the Wind and Thunder family? You deserve to die." After the lightning bolt dissipated, Lei Qingtian's figure appeared 1,000 miles away. He followed closely behind Jiang Zuomei. However, at this moment, Jiang Zuomei didn't attack Lei Qingtian. Instead, she stared coldly at Zhuowen. Although Zhuowen had changed his appearance and even his aura to that of Feng Tianhan, Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian were both Earth Immortals. They naturally saw through Zhuowen's disguise and guessed Zhuowen's identity. "Blood Immortal, go." Zhuowen's eyes narrowed. He waved his right hand and immediately put the Blood Immortal into the spirit ring. Soon after, 3 pairs of lightning wings spread out. The void and explosive steps laws spread on the 3 pairs of lightning wings. In just an instant, Zhuowen disappeared from where he was. When he reappeared, he was already 1,000 miles away. "Where do you think you're going?" Lei Qingtian was furious. He stepped on the void and invisible ripples spread out from the soles of his feet. Then he disappeared from where he was and immediately teleported 1,000 miles away. Jiang Zuomei didn't say anything and just followed closely behind Lei Qingtian. Although the battle between him and Lei Qingtian was earth-shattering, both of them only wanted to take back their incomplete divine talisman origins. The key was Zhuowen. Previously, when Zhuowen was in the hands of the Wind and Thunder family, both of them didn't agree, so they fought. But now that Zhuowen had escaped from the imprisonment of the Wind and Thunder family, both of them immediately reached an agreement to capture Zhuowen. Not long after Zhuowen, Lei Qingtian, and Jiang Zuomei left the Wind and Thunder city, Feng Ruji and Jiang Zhe also swept to the sky above the Wind and Thunder family. The soldiers of the Wind and Thunder family were so weak, they were actually all slaughtered by Zhuowen. Also, didn't you all capture Zhuowen? Why did such a blunder happen now? Jiang Zhe said with some displeasure. He had no enmity with Feng Ruji, and the battle was only because of Zhuowen. But now that Zhuowen had escaped, the two of them naturally had no reason to continue fighting. Feng Ruji took a deep breath, his eyes filled with murderous intent. He said coldly, "This kid will die without a doubt. Jiang Zuomei, the patriarch of your Ice and Fire family, and Lei Qingtian, the kid will die if he doesn't die. Now is not the time for us to care about Zhuowen. Shouldn't we persuade our ancestors to stop fighting?" Speaking of this, Feng Ruji suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. The sky thousands of miles away was almost torn apart, and countless black holes were sweeping out with terrifying winds of annihilation. Feng Lei Wuji, with his wind and thunder wings covering the sky, was still fighting with Jiang Binghan, who was standing on an ice and fire lotus. The battle between the two of them was reaching its climax. This terrifying scene could be clearly seen by more than a dozen prefectures in the vicinity. Countless cultivators and mansion masters came out of their houses and witnessed this scene. Their minds were greatly shaken. Speaking of this, Feng Ruji flipped his right hand and took out a communication jade charm. He told Feng Lei Wuji the cause and effect of what had happened, and reminded him of Zhuowen's escape. Jiangzhi did the same and sent a message to Jiang Binghan. The content of his message was similar to Feng Ruji's. High in the sky, Jiang Binghan was standing on a giant ice and fire lotus with 9 petals. He said in a deep voice, "Old man Feng Lei Wuji has already escaped. It's meaningless for us to continue fighting. Why don't we catch up with Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian and take down Zhuon together?" Feng Lei Wuji's eyes were filled with anger. His face was filled with anger. Feng Ruji's message told him that besides Zhuowen's escape, all the soldiers of the Wind and Thunder family had been slaughtered. Hearing this news, Feng Lei Wuji almost coughed up blood. The 1,000 soldiers of the Wind and Thunder family could be said to be the true elites of the family. They were the mainstay of the family. All of them were powerful saints, and there was no lack of talented heavenly saints. Now, the mainstay of the Wind and Thunder family had actually been slaughtered. Feng Lei Wuji's heart was filled with monstrous anger. Qingtian has already passed. Even if that Zhuon isn't simple, he's definitely a turtle in a jar. But you, Jiang Binghan, if it weren't for your ice and fire family aggressively coming to my Wind and Thunder family, if it weren't for you delaying this old man, the 1,000 soldiers of the Wind and Thunder family wouldn't have been annihilated. As Feng Lei Wuji said this, the wind and thunder wings on his back suddenly surged. The energy of wind and thunder mixed together like a storm, shooting down from the sky. Jiang Binghan's face was ugly. He waved his sleeve and the giant ice and fire lotus floated in front of him. He shouted, "Old man Feng Lei, it's meaningless for us to continue fighting like this. Don't be so impulsive. At worst, my ice and fire family will compensate you for the losses of the wind and thunder family. Now, the main thing is to chase after Zhuon." Jiang Binghan shouted. Feng Lei Wuji roared in anger, "Compensate? Do you know how difficult it is to raise 1,000 saints? Can your ice and fire family compensate me with 1,000 saints? Moreover, 1,000 saints who are proficient in array formations?" Jiang Binghan's face was gloomy. It was naturally impossible for his ice and fire family to take out 1,000 saints. It had to be known that raising a saint required an enormous amount of resources. His ice and fire family really couldn't afford 1,000 saints. You're not talking? If you're not talking, does that mean you can't afford or aren't willing to compensate? Since that's the case, then let's fight. This old man will properly vent the anger in his heart today. And the target of my venting is you, Jiang Binghan. Having said that, Wuji of Wind and Thunder stomped his foot, and the wings of wind and thunder covered the sky, pressing down on Jiang Binghan. Jiang Binghan clenched his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. His cultivation was similar to Feng Lei Wuji's, and they both had saint talismans. Even if he was slightly stronger than Feng Lei Wuji because of the saint talisman, it would still be very difficult for him to defeat Feng Lei Wuji. Chapter 1682. Shatter Swamp. Jiang Binghan had no choice but to activate the power of the holy symbol of icy fire and ice lotus to continue fighting Feng Lei Wuji. Feng Ruji and Jiang's faces suddenly turned ugly. They did not expect Feng Lei Wuji and Jiang Binghan to fight so fiercely, especially Feng Lei Wuji, who was unwilling to give up. In Wind Thunder Prefecture, when the battle between the two celestial immortals reached its climax, 3 rainbows flashed past Wind Thunder Prefecture and passed through several counties. Jiang Zuomei stared at the fleeing figure of Zhuo 100 miles away and muttered in a low voice, "By relying on the lightning wings, the laws of the void, and explosive steps, this kid's speed can actually catch up with our teleportation. We actually can't catch up to him." Lei Qingtian's eyes were gloomy. At this moment, Lei Qingtian was in an extremely bad mood. The Thunder Wings were the inheritance of their Thunder lineage. Back then, Wind Thunder Emperor took it away, but now, even the Thunder Disc was lost. What Lei Qingtian couldn't accept the most was that the Lightning Disc had been taken away by a junior from the Yang Sky Saint realm that was insignificant in his eyes, and he just couldn't catch up to this junior. This made Lei Qingtian feel extremely depressed. The three of them were simply too fast. Some of the county cities only felt a terrifying pressure sweep over. However, it only appeared for an instant before it rapidly disappeared into the distance. This caused the cultivators in the county cities who passed by to feel fear. They are indeed earthly immortals. They can teleport so casually. Zhuan sensed that Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian had disappeared 1,000 miles away with a casual step. His eyes were full of fear. He knew very well that without the help of the Thunder Wings, his speed was far inferior to Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian. Even with the help of the Thunder Wings, the two earthly immortals could barely keep up with him. Moreover, the Thunder Wings consumed a lot of energy. Zhuan knew very well that in his current state he could not use the Thunder Wings endlessly. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. With Zhuowen's speed, he had already traversed most of the Wind Thunder Manor on the third day of the chase. He had left the Wind Thunder Manor's territory. Now that half a month had passed, Zhuan had even crossed the Green Lotus Mansion, Zhouten Mansion and Precipice Mansion, which were close to the Wind Thunder Mansion. Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei were also closely following Zhuan. These two fellows. At this moment, Zhuowen's face was slightly pale. The 3 pairs of thunder wings on his back were originally 1,000 feet long, but now they were only 10 feet long. Zhuan took out a jade bottle from his spirit ring and continuously poured the immortal pills in the bottle into his mouth. For half a month, maintaining the speed of teleportation had consumed too much of Zhuowen's energy. If not for the massive amount of immortal pills in the Azure Dragon Hall to replenish his energy, Zhuan would not have been able to hold on for so long. Furthermore, in order to reduce his energy consumption, Zhuan had shrunk his thunder wings to around 10 feet long. However, he did not reduce his speed. After all, if he did, the two behind him would probably catch up immediately. It was not just Zhuowen. Even Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei, who were chasing from behind, were slightly pale. It was quite strenuous for the two of them to continuously teleport. However, compared to Zhuowen's tiredness, the two of them were in a much better state. This Zhuowen is only at the Yang Sky Saint stage. Even if he relies on many powerful external items and is much stronger than ordinary Yang Sky Saint stage experts, the Yang Sky Saint stage is still the Yang Sky Saint stage. How can this kid hold on for so long? Lei Qingtian's face was rather ugly. Jiang Zuomei's eyes were filled with killing intent. He said to Lei Qingtian in a deep voice, "Patriarch Lei, we can't continue like this. We have to catch up to this kid as soon as possible. Otherwise, it won't work at all." Lei Qingtian said coldly, "I know even if you don't say it. This little bastard stole the treasure of my lightning lineage. I want to catch up to him even more than you do. However, the problem now is that this kid's speed isn't any slower than ours. How are we going to catch up to him? I have a secret technique here that can combine the power of 2 people and increase our speed by 1 level. I'll pass this secret technique to you. Secretly ponder over it and perform this technique with me," Jiang Zuomei said in a deep voice. Upon hearing this, Lei Qingtian's eyes lit up. He said, "Do you really have such a secret technique? If you do, quickly pass it to me now." Jiang Zuomei did not waste any time. He nodded and pointed with his right finger. A message turned into a ray of light and entered the depths of Lei Qingtian's sea of consciousness. Lei Qingtian pondered for a moment before he opened his eyes. Light flickered in his eyes as he said in a deep voice, "I didn't expect you to have such a secret technique. This thing is of little value during normal times, but it's suitable for us now. Let's not waste any more time. Quickly perform this technique," Jiang Zuomei said. Lei Qingtian pondered for a moment and nodded. Both of them immediately formed a seal. Lei Qingtian's right hand struck out while Jiang Zuomei's left hand struck out. Their hands collided and a terrifying celestial core power burst out. The space around them collapsed and they both disappeared. When the two of them reappeared, they were 80 miles behind Zhuowen. Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei's speed has increased a lot. Zhen naturally noticed Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian, who were 80 miles behind him. His eyes were gloomy. Previously, they were still 100 miles behind him. Now they were 80 miles behind him. This was too fast. Both of their hands are forming a strange seal. I'm afraid they use some kind of secret technique to forcefully increase their speed, Xiao He said cautiously. According to their current speed, I'm afraid they will soon catch up with me, Zhuan said in a deep voice. Xiao He nodded and said, after all, they are Earth immortals. It's normal for them to have some tricks up their sleeves. Now, I think the only one who can help you is the first mountain god of the Azure Dragon Palace. Speaking of the first mountain god, Zhuan revealed a bitter expression. He knew very well how terrifying the first mountain god was. When the first mountain god released the seal in the crack of the Nether Corpse impasse, even He Lao, an Earth immortal from the Prophet's family, could not break it. It could be seen that the first mountain god's strength was far more terrifying than an Earth immortal. However, what made Zhuan helpless was that the first mountain god was too mysterious. If the first mountain god did not want to appear, Zhuan would not be able to find any trace of the first mountain god. Even if he stood in the third layer and called out the first mountain god's name, the first mountain god would not have any reaction. I'm afraid that if I want to lure the first mountain god out, I need to at least comprehend the law of the fourth forbidden area in the 19th mountain. Zhuan smiled bitterly. Although he said so, Zhuan knew that the law of the fourth forbidden area was more complicated than the law of the third forbidden area. It would not be easy to comprehend it. Only 60 miles left. Zhuan glanced behind him and said with an ugly expression. A black light swept out from between Zhuan's eyebrows and transformed into the appearance of Xiao He. Xiao He stood on Zhuan's shoulder and looked seriously at Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei behind him. At the same time, it looked at the surrounding terrain and made up its mind. Boy, turn to the west and rush there as fast as you can. Although Zhuan had doubts about Xiao He's words, he still did as he was told. He suddenly turned and his speed soared to the extreme as he rushed toward the west. He's already starting to panic. Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian looked at each other coldly and proudly. They chased after Zhuan relentlessly. The distance between them and Zhuan was constantly closing. 50 miles, 40 miles, 30 miles, 20 miles. When Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian were only 10 miles away from Zhuan, Jiang Zuomei suddenly frowned. He raised his head and looked to the west. A huge swamp appeared in front of him thousands of miles away. The swamp was huge, spanning hundreds of thousands of miles. Moreover, there was a strange gray fog rising from the swamp, which made the swamp appear hazy and mysterious. The Shattering Nightmare Swamp? Why did he come to this place? The end of the Shattering Nightmare Swamp is the most mysterious of the 6 perilous lands in the Middle Continent, the Shattering Nightmare Abyss. Jiang Zuomei could not help but exclaim softly. Lei Qingtian's eyes were cold as he said, he's purposely leading us here. Does he want to perish together with the two of us? But that's just too laughable. Those below the Celestial Saint stage will definitely die here, but those above the Celestial Saint stage will still have a chance of survival. Where is this? Zhuan was puzzled. He had not been in the Middle Continent for long, so he was not familiar with the Shattering Nightmare Swamp and the Shattering Nightmare Abyss. Xiao He's eyes were filled with nostalgia. He sighed and said, this swamp is called the Shattering Nightmare Swamp. In the depths of the swamp is a huge abyss called the Shattering Nightmare Abyss. The Shattering Nightmare Abyss is one of the 6 perilous lands in the Middle Continent. Based on the current situation, you're destined to be caught by Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei. Instead of being captured without any resistance, it's better to enter this perilous land and struggle a little. However, once you enter this place, you must listen to everything I say. Otherwise, you'll suffer greatly. Looking at Xiao He's serious expression, Zhuan nodded seriously. He could see the nostalgia in Xiao He's eyes when he looked at the Shattering Nightmare Abyss. He knew that Xiao He must have been to the Shattering Nightmare Abyss and the Shattering Nightmare Swamp before. Otherwise, he would not show such an expression. Don't stop. Enter the swamp. However, the gray qi around the swamp is extremely poisonous. You must close all the apertures on your body because the poisonous qi will not only enter through your nose, but also through your apertures, Xiao He said cautiously. Zhuan nodded. He closed all the apertures on his body and entered the shattering nightmare swamp without hesitation. This kid, he actually went in just like that? Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei suddenly paused. They looked at each other, then locked onto Zhuowen's figure and entered the swamp together. Chapter 1683. 4 Symbols Centipede Splash. The sound of Zhuowen diving into the water could be heard. The moment Zhuowen dived into the swamp, Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei also entered the gray fog. This guy has entered the swamp. Does he want to die? Jiang Zuomei's pupils shrank and her face darkened. The shattered annihilation swamp was the most dangerous place because there were many powerful creatures living in the swamp. Even an Earth immortal would find it difficult to enter. What are you afraid of? That kid has already entered the swamp. Why should we, 2 Earth immortals, be afraid? Lei Qingtian grumbled in dissatisfaction. Without hesitation, he dived into the swamp. Jiang Zuomei's gaze was gloomy as she followed closely behind. So many creatures. The auras of these creatures are not simple at all. The moment Zhuowen dived into the swamp, he scanned the surroundings with his mind and found many black shadows swimming around the swamp. They were extremely fast and their auras were not weak. Suddenly, the black shadow closest to Zhuowen dashed toward Zhuowen like an arrow. It was so fast that even Zhuowen felt a little scared. Slaughtering finger of Acheron. Without hesitation, Zhuowen pointed his finger. Instantly, countless Acheron water droplets flew out and gathered in front of Zhuowen to form a yellow shield. Bang! The moment the yellow shield was formed, a strong force slammed into it. Zhuowen felt his right hand go numb and took a few steps back. His eyes were gloomy. Only now did he discover the true appearance of the attacking black shadow. This black shadow's appearance was extremely similar to a snake. It was several meters long, its entire body was green, and its body was flat. Its upper and lower jaws opened, instantly revealing a pair of fierce and sharp teeth. The snake's aura was extremely vast. It was probably not weaker than an ordinary quintessential Saint Realm saint. Just as Zhuowen was about to fight back, Xiao He stopped him. This is a flat snake. It's a Saint Realm creature that lives in groups. Don't kill it. Once you do, it will be troublesome. Hearing this, Zhuowen immediately noticed that within 100 feet of this snake, there were many similar flat snakes that were all eyeing this snake covetously. However, perhaps it was because the flat snake in front of them had attacked Zhuowen first, so the densely packed flat snakes didn't attack together. However, if Zhuowen killed the flat snake, the numerous flat snakes around him would probably attack him one after another. With so many flat snakes, Zhuowen knew that he would not be able to deal with them. Leave it to me. As Xiao He spoke, she appeared. A majestic pressure burst out from Xiao He's body like a terrifying storm. It whistled and the surrounding water turned into a terrifying whirlpool. When this pressure appeared, the eyes of the flat snake that attacked Zhuowen immediately revealed a frightened expression. It could not help but continuously retreat. The densely packed flat snakes that were 300 meters away from Zhuowen also revealed similar expressions. Let's go! Xiao He shouted. Zhuowen nodded and swung his legs. His speed suddenly soared to the extreme as he plunged into the depths of the swamp. Where do you think you're going? The moment Zhuowen plunged out, Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei rushed over. Lei Qingtian roared angrily and followed closely behind Zhuowen. The flat snake that was originally frightened by Xiao He's aura suddenly spat out its tongue and plunged towards Lei Qingtian. Get lost! Lei Qingtian did not even look at the flat snake. With a wave of his sleeve, the flat snake exploded into a cloud of blood mist. However, the moment this flat snake was killed, the countless flat snakes in the surrounding 300 meters suddenly let out sorrowful cries one after another. Then, like countless arrows that were shot out, they rustled and shot out. With so many flat snakes pouncing on them, a terrifying storm was set off in the water. The whirlpools contained a powerful strangling force. Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei's pupils shrank at the same time. Immediately, they unleashed the power of an earthly immortal and annihilated the flat snakes that plunged towards them. However, there were too many flat snakes. Although these flat snakes couldn't do anything to the two of them, they were still able to completely block their path. When the surrounding flat snakes were completely annihilated by the two of them, it was already over 10 breaths later. Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei were delayed and instantly lost track of Zhuowen. Cunning little brat. Let's search. Even if we have to search the entire Shattered Memories swamp, I will find him. Lei Qingtian's face was gloomy. He took a step forward and went deep into the swamp with Jiang Zuomei. Half a day later, in the deepest part of the Shattered Memories swamp, a black shadow slowly landed on the soft soil. For the time being, we have shaken off Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei. However, with their abilities, it is only a matter of time before they find me in this swamp. Zhuowen said with a slight frown. Xiao He stood on Zhuowen's shoulder. Suddenly, it looked at Zhuowen with shining eyes and said, "Kid, do you want to play a big game? These two are earthly immortals. It will be much more difficult for you to get rid of them. The only way is to keep them in the Shattered Memories swamp." Zhuowen's pupils shrank. He looked deeply at Xiao He and took a deep breath. "How do you want to play? You seem to be very familiar with this place. It will be very difficult for me to keep two earthly immortals here. Of course, you don't have to do it yourself. We need to rely on the overlord of the Shattered Memories swamp." There are countless terrifying creatures in the Shattered Memories swamp. Naturally, there will be overlords. If I remember correctly, the overlord of the Shattered Memories swamp is a huge 4-symbol centipede. I have dealt with this 4-symbol centipede a long time ago and I know its habits. As long as I lure it out, I don't believe that Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei will be able to stop it. The corners of Xiao He's mouth revealed a sinister smile when he spoke until this point. Immediately, he transformed into a bolt of black lightning and rushed forward. Zhuowen followed closely behind. After a while, Xiao He stopped in front of a huge group of reefs at the bottom of the swamp. The reefs covered an extremely large area, spanning tens of thousands of miles. In the Shattered Memories swamp, which was only a few 100,000 miles wide, the area covered by these reefs was extremely large. If one were to look down at the group of reefs from above, one would see a huge centipede lying quietly in the middle of the group of reefs. The centipede had thousands of slender legs and its carapace emitted a milky white luster. What was even more strange was that the head of the centipede was emitting an illusory mist. Within the mist, the images of the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise appeared. This was the 4-symbol centipede that Xiao He mentioned. It was also the overlord of the Shattered Memories swamp. It was a terrifying existence that was slightly stronger than an earthly immortal. However, the 4-symbol centipede lying in the middle of the group of reefs was curled up as if it had fallen into a deep sleep. The 4-symbol centipede is inside. Brat Hidewell, this Lord Dragon will go in first. If you don't have this Lord Dragon's instructions, it's best if you don't come out. Blackie cautiously said to Zhuowen. Zhuowen nodded cautiously. He immediately found an extremely remote crevice in the reef and concealed his aura. Not long after, a terrifying tremor suddenly came from the entire Shattered Memories swamp. A strange sound wave spread out. The surface of the swamp was immediately set off by a huge wave. It rushed into the sky and then fell back down. Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian, who were searching for Zhuowen in the swamp, shuddered. They looked at each other with joy on their faces. They knew very well that the sudden roar from the swamp was probably caused by someone who had angered the owner of the roar. The two of them were obviously not the owner, so it could only be Zhuowen. Let's go. Follow the source of the sound, Jiang Zuomei said and disappeared from the spot with Lei Qingtian. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the huge group of reefs at the bottom. At this moment, the group of reefs had almost turned into ruins. In the middle of the reefs, a huge centipede was twisting its huge body and constantly hissing. Its voice was filled with anger. Although Zhuowen was also hiding in the group of reefs, it was fortunate that the reef where Zhuowen was hiding was in an extremely remote area. Therefore, he was not affected by the 4-symbol centipede's attack. This is the 4-symbol centipede. Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei narrowed their eyes and their expressions changed. Let's go. Without hesitation, Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei stomped their feet and left the place as if they had teleported. However, the four symbols centipede, which was struggling painfully among the reefs, suddenly leaped up and broke out of the water, chasing after Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei. Feeling the strong wind behind them, Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei could not help but curse in their hearts. They did not expect the four symbols centipede to chase after them without distinguishing between right and wrong. Although the two of them were fast, the four symbols centipede behind them was even faster. It suddenly broke through the air and stopped in front of Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei. Hiss hiss hiss. The four-sided centipede hissed and spat out green venom from its mouth. The venom was filled with an unpleasant stench and had an extremely terrifying corrosive property. Lei Qingtian waved his sleeve and a thunderbolt surged out. It turned into a huge thunder dragon and swept toward the venom. However, the moment the thunder dragon came into contact with the venom, its head was corroded by the venom and only its body was left. However, the headless thunder dragon did not lose its momentum and continued to sweep toward the four symbols centipede. The four symbols centipede swung its tail and directly turned the headless lightning dragon into dust. Immediately after, the four symbols centipede roared and the four symbols formed by the seven-colored fog above its head seemed to come alive. They rushed out and took up positions in four different directions around Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei. The four symbols formation of the four symbols centipede. Jiang Zuomei's face turned ugly. He clenched his right hand, and the ice and fire energy condensed into a thick ice-fire spear. He then threw the spear, and it flew out like a shuttle, slamming heavily on the four symbols array. Chapter 1684. Black Wind of Oblivion Rumble. In the sky above the four symbols array, the enormous four symbols centipede hissed and suddenly swooped down. Its enormous body was like a dark cloud that covered the heavens and the earth as it rapidly swept towards Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei. This beast is still going strong. Lei Qingtian had a fiery temper. He was already annoyed by the four symbols formation. Now, the four symbols centipede was even more insatiable. It actually charged into the four symbols formation and attacked him. Lei Qingtian immediately exploded. Lei Qingtian flipped his right hand and a 10-inch long ruler appeared in his palm. The surface of the ruler was covered with dense thunderbolts and countless electric arcs. It looked extremely strange. The earthly immortal's saint artifact Thunderlight Ruler. Jiang Zuomei narrowed his eyes and said in surprise. When Lei Qingtian fought with him, he never took out the Thunderlight Ruler. Now that he encountered the four symbols centipede, he immediately took out the Thunderlight Ruler. It seemed like he was going to use his full strength. Brother Jiang, you don't have to waste time. If I'm not wrong, this four symbols centipede was probably lured out by Jun. If you want to find Zhuowen, you must defeat or kill this four symbols centipede, Lei Qingtian said coldly. Hearing this, Jiang Zuomei laughed and said, Brother Lei, what are you talking about? Of course, I'm going to use my full strength. While speaking, Jiang Zuomei clenched his right hand and a smooth and flawless round mirror appeared in his hand. The edges of the round mirror were surrounded by the energy of ice and fire. The energy of ice and fire were like two small snakes that constantly revolved around the round mirror. The earthly immortal's saint artifact Ice-Fire Reincarnation Mirror. It seems like Brother Jiang is really well prepared for this trip to the Wind and Thunder Clan, Lei Qingtian said indifferently. Jiang Zuomei's expression was normal as he said, Now is not the time to talk about this. Let's work together to break the four symbols formation and defeat the four symbols centipede. Lei Qingtian sneered and didn't say anything else. He held the Thunderlight Ruler in his hand and soared into the sky. Suddenly, the surface of the Thunderlight Ruler erupted with endless terrifying lightning. Every thunderbolt from the Thunderlight Ruler was enough to kill a half-immortal. With so many thunderbolts intertwined together, even an Earth immortal would have to retreat. Not to be outdone, Jiang Zuomei flipped her right hand and aimed the mirror at the four symbols centipede. Instantly, the four symbols centipede's figure was reflected in the mirror. When the shadow of the four symbols centipede appeared on the surface of the mirror, The two energies of ice and fire circling around the edges of the mirror were like two agile pythons, instantly entangling the four symbols centipede. What happened to the mirror immediately happened to the real four symbols centipede. Two huge ice and fire pythons had appeared around the four symbols centipede at some point in time. They tightly bound the four symbols centipede, preventing it from moving at all. The instant the four symbols centipede was restrained by the ice and fire python, Lei Qingtian's eyes burst with light as he threw the Thunderlight ruler with his right hand. The Thunderlight ruler, which was covered with terrifying lightning, instantly shot out like an arrow and heavily smashed onto the four symbols centipede. Crackle! In just an instant, firecracker-like sounds resounded around the four symbols centipede. Terrifying lightning continuously exploded around the four symbols centipede. The four symbols centipede's carapace was extremely tough, but the Thunderlight ruler was no ordinary object. The power that it unleashed was extremely terrifying. Cracks began to appear on the surface of the four symbols centipede's carapace. Brr! The four elements centipede roared angrily as it struggled with all its might. Unfortunately, the two ice and fire pythons had tightly bound it. No matter how hard the four elements centipede struggled, it could not break free from the ice and fire python's shackles. At this moment, the lightning that erupted from the Thunderlight ruler instantly multiplied under Lei Qingtian's hand seals. The four symbols centipede's carapace finally shattered into countless pieces, and the four symbols centipede let out an earth-shattering roar. At this moment, the four symbols centipede's fury had almost reached its peak. The sound waves produced by its roar formed an extremely terrifying shockwave. In an instant, the fragmentary weeds swamp, which spanned hundreds of thousands of miles, surged with terrifying waves. The countless living beings in the fragmentary ruin swamp all felt fear and scattered in a panic. The four symbols that were formed by the four symbols formation that surrounded Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei roared furiously and self-destructed. Boom! 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 The self-destruction of the four symbols formation was too terrifying. The entire sky shook, and the vast gray fog that permeated the fragmentary weeds swamp was blown away. A huge whirlpool was formed in the middle of the swamp. Within the whirlpool, there were many native creatures of the swamp. Due to this terrifying whirlpool, they were directly torn to pieces. The reefs in the depths of the swamp were also affected. Zhuan immediately spread his thunder wings and left the range of the whirlpool. He leaped out of the swamp's water surface. At this moment, in the sky above the swamp, the terrifying energy produced by the self-destruction of the four symbols formation swept over. Zhuan was in awe as he looked at it. Such a terrifying explosion. Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei will be severely injured even if they don't die. Zhuan murmured. At the same time, Xiaohei leaped onto Zhuan's shoulder from somewhere. He clapped his claws like an old man and laughed. Look, there's nothing that I can't accomplish. Zhuan gave him a thumbs up. He was not stingy with his praise. Xiaohei had done well in this matter. He had used the four symbols centipede to deal with Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei. Boom! Suddenly the exploding energy ball collapsed, and terrifying lightning, ice, and fire energy burst out, finally turning into two extremely wretched figures. They were Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei. Among them, Lei Qingtian was much more miserable than Jiang Zuomei. His clothes were ragged, his left hand was broken at the shoulder, and his right hand was blown to the point where the bones were exposed. Jiang Zuomei was much better than Lei Qingtian. However, her hands and legs were also blown to the point where the bones inside could be vaguely seen. Although it should be easy for an earthly immortal to recover from his injuries, Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian's injuries were not ordinary injuries. They were caused by the explosion of the four symbols, centipede's four symbols. It would not be possible to recover from such injuries in a day or two. It would take a long time to recuperate. At this moment, Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian looked rather dispirited. Their auras were also extremely unstable. The self-destruction of the four symbols centipede had caused them serious injuries. You're indeed earthly immortals. You didn't die from the explosion of the four symbols centipede. Xiaohei squinted his eyes and said in surprise, "Little bastard, you're the one who started this, right?" If I don't kill you today, I'm not a man. Lei Qingtian immediately noticed Zhuan on the surface of the swamp. His eyes were spitting fire and his hatred was monstrous. He did not care about recovering from his injuries and rushed toward Zhuan like a crazy calf. Not only Lei Qingtian, but even the rather calm Jiang Zuomei was also filled with anger. He also knew that he had been tricked by Zhuan. At this moment, he had also lost his mind and followed behind Lei Qingtian. These two guys have already suffered such serious injuries, but they still haven't given up on killing you. Kid, leave the shattered smelt swamp and fly towards the shattered smelt abyss. Today, I'll let you have a taste of killing an immortal, Xiao He said with a frosty look in his eyes. Zhuan nodded. With a kick of his right foot, the thunder wings unfolded. The void and explosion steps rule combined. Like a wisp of green smoke, he flew towards the shattered smelt abyss. Although Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei had used the secret technique again, due to their serious injuries, their teleportation speed had decreased. Even if they joined forces, they could only keep up with Zhuowen's speed. Seeing this, Zhuan let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, his eyes were filled with madness. From Xiao Hei's actions, it could be seen that Xiao Hei was very familiar with the shattered smelt abyss. Perhaps with Xiao Hei's help, he could really kill an immortal. Jiang Zuomei and Lei Qingtian were the mainstays of the Wind and Thunder clan and the Ice and Fire clan respectively. If they were killed, it would probably be a heavy blow to the Wind and Thunder clan and the Ice and Fire clan. Lei Qingnan, Jiang Zuomei, since the two of you insist on killing me, don't blame me for killing an immortal, Zhuan muttered to himself. Swoosh, swoosh. The three of them were extremely fast. In an instant, they flew out of the shattered smelt swamp and slowly approached the shattered smelt abyss. Is he going to the shattered smelt abyss? Jiang Zuomei, who had lost his mind, gradually recovered. He frowned slightly and reminded Lei Qingtian, who was beside him. Lei Qingtian's eyes were red. Without turning his head, he said, "Brother Jiang, if you are afraid, you can leave by yourself. If I, Lei Qingtian, don't catch up with Yuan today, I will not be worthy of being the Lightning Clan's patriarch." At this moment, Jiang Zuomei's heart was in a dilemma. He knew that the shattered smelt abyss was extremely dangerous, but he was worried that Lei Qingtian would catch up with Zhuowen and take him down. At that time, he would not have the chance to obtain the last trace of the Ice and Fire Saint symbol's origin. Let's go all out. I don't believe that this kid dares to enter the shattered smelt abyss. Even if he does, he will definitely die. Once he dies, the Ice and Thunder Saint symbol's origin in his body will fly away. At that time, I only need to snatch the Ice and Fire Saint symbol's origin that flies away. Thinking of this, Jiang Zuomei's heart suddenly became clear. He also dispelled the idea of giving up on chasing after Zhuan. The shattered smelt abyss was located hundreds of thousands of miles away from the shattered smelt swamp. There was a huge abyss there. The abyss was like a ravine that split the earth. It was bottomless and pitch black. Moreover, the darkness was so deep that it was terrifying. On the surface of the abyss, there was an extremely strange black wind. The black wind was very short and small, like black wind blades. Wherever the black wind passed, it could shatter the space and create extremely dense small black holes. The black wind was the most famous trap in the shattered smelt abyss. The black wind was called the Annihilation Black Wind. It was said that it could devour all energy. Chapter 1685. Sword Slave. The black wind of annihilation was extremely terrifying. It could devour everything in the world, no matter what it was. Warriors below the Celestial Saint Realm would not be able to last long in this place. They would be destroyed by the black wind of annihilation that covered the sky above the abyss. Therefore, this wind was infamous in the central region. At the edge of the abyss, Zhuowen suddenly came to a halt. He looked down at the countless black winds of annihilation above the abyss with a grave expression. He could feel that the destructive power contained in the black winds of annihilation was extremely terrifying. This feeling was very strong. It was as if he would be smashed into pieces as soon as he entered this place. This is the black wind of annihilation. Boy, take out the Azure Dragon Palace and break through this black wind of annihilation. Xiaohei said in a deep voice. At this moment, Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei, who were chasing from behind, looked at Zhuowen, who had stopped at the edge of the abyss. Their faces were filled with mockery. Little bastard, with your cultivation base, you'll definitely die the moment you come into contact with the Oblivion Black Wind. I advise you to get your ass over here right now. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead, Lei Qing'an said coldly. Zhuowen glanced coldly at Lei Qingtian. With a wave of his sleeve, he took out the Azure Dragon Palace. The magnificent palace appeared in the sky above the abyss. An ancient and terrifying aura flowed out and pressed down. It was as if it was not a palace, but a mountain that could crush the world. The moment the Azure Dragon Palace was taken out, Yun stepped into the palace. Immediately after, he formed a seal with both hands. The Azure Dragon Palace sank into the abyss as if it was free falling. Swoosh swoosh. The moment the Azure Dragon Palace sank into the abyss, Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei also rushed to the edge of the abyss and stared blankly at the falling Azure Dragon Palace. Wherever the Azure Dragon Hall passed, the black wind of annihilation would come crashing down. However, what made Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zuomei dumbfounded was that the black wind of annihilation that even earthly immortals like them did not dare to casually touch was actually unable to devour the Azure Dragon Hall. Although the falling speed of the Azure Dragon Hall was rather slow due to the obstruction of the annihilation black wind, it was still falling. Moreover, the Azure Dragon Hall did not show any signs of damage. What level of saint artifact is this palace? The black wind of annihilation couldn't do any harm to it. Jiang Zuomei's pupils shrunk. The obliteration black wind was extremely terrifying. Even if it was an earthly immortal saint artifact, if it stayed within the obliteration black wind for too long, then it would suffer extremely heavy damage. But this hall was actually completely unharmed, and it was truly inconceivable. This palace is at least a heavenly immortal sacred artifact. Moreover, it might even be a true immortal sacred artifact. Even the Oblivion Black Wind could not damage it. It is absolutely impossible for it to be an earthly immortal sacred artifact. Lei Qingtian was silent for a moment. His eyes were suddenly filled with passion as he spat out these words. Jiang Zuomei's body trembled as a hint of greed appeared in his eyes. He said in a deep voice, I didn't expect this kid to have so many secrets. Not only does he have the origins of the Ice Flame Saint symbol and the Wind Lightning Saint symbol, but he also has this extraordinary hall. Jiang Zuomei, you don't have to beat around the bush. How can I not know the purpose of your words? Any one of us has a slim chance of breaking through the obliteration black wind. But if you and I join forces, then breaking through the obliteration black wind will become much easier, Lei Qingtian said in a deep voice. Jiang Zuomei smiled and said, Brother Lei, you really have sharp eyes. You can see through my thoughts with just a glance. This is indeed the only way now. This kid has too many secrets. Once he grows up, it won't be good for either of us. We have to get rid of him as soon as possible. Of course, my lightning ruler and Brother Zhang's ice and fire reincarnation mirror should be able to barely break through the obliteration black wind. Lei Qingtian said as he waved his sleeve. The lightning ruler that was covered with lightning appeared in his hand. Jiang Zuomei did not waste any time and took out the ice and fire reincarnation mirror. The two of them combined the lightning ruler and the ice and fire reincarnation mirror. Immediately, lightning, ice, and fire energy burst out violently. Then, the two of them slowly fell into the shattered nightmare abyss. Time passed slowly. When Zhuowen, Jiang Zuomei, and Lei Qingtian broke through the obliteration black wind and entered the shattered nightmare abyss, the battle between Feng Lei Wuji and Jiang Binghan also ended a month later. The two celestial immortals held 2 saint talismans and fought in the territory of Wind Thunder Prefecture for a whole month. The vast territory of Wind Thunder Prefecture had become the main battlefield of the 2 celestial immortals. After a month of fighting, many counties in Wind Thunder Prefecture were hit by unexpected disasters. There were countless casualties, and the people were in a terrible situation. In the end, both Feng Lei Wuji and Jiang Binghan suffered great losses. After the battle, the 2 celestial immortals returned to their respective clans to cultivate in seclusion. This time, The one who suffered the most in the battle between the two clans was actually the Wind Thunder clan. The Wind Thunder city, where the Wind Thunder clan resided, had been destroyed. The 1,000 soldiers of the clan were all killed, and the Wind Thunder manor had been reduced to ruins. It could be said that the Wind Thunder clan had suffered a great loss this time. The battle between the two clans was a major event in the central region. It could be said that in a very short time, the news spread throughout the central region and became a rumor passed down by word of mouth. The reason for the battle between the two clans was related to a young man named Jun. It was said that Jun came from the 4 great domains. However, he actually had a part of the Ice and Fire Saint Talisman and a part of the origin of the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman. It was because of this that he became the fuse that led to the conflict between the two clans. Thus, Zhuowen's name spread throughout the Central Plains in a short period of time. Moreover, it was unknown who spread the news that the patriarch of the Ice and Fire clan, Jiang Zhuomei, and the patriarch of the Lightning branch of the Wind and Thunder clan, Lei Qingtian, had chased Zhuowen all the way and forced him into one of the 6 great danger zones of the central region, the Shattered Nightmare Abyss. It was unknown whether Lei Qingtian and Jiang Zhuomei were still alive in the Shattered Nightmare Abyss. On this day, at the edge of the Shattered Nightmare Abyss, a slender figure with a long sword on his back stood quietly. The wind whistled in his face, and his hair and robes fluttered in the wind. He stood there like a peerless sword. The figure wore a ghost mask, and the eyes revealed by the mask contained an extremely sharp sword chi. It was as if the sword chi would crush anything that came into contact with the eyes. The aura of the ghost mask in front of him was completely different from that of the ghost mask Zhuowen and Lei Tingqin. It was obvious that the ghost mask in front of him was not the same person. The person glanced at the Shattered Nightmare Abyss, and with a clench of his right hand, he suddenly pulled out the long sword on his back. Immediately, a sharp sword radiance erupted from the blade. The person took a step forward and directly jumped into the Shattered Nightmare Abyss. The moment he jumped into the abyss, the black wind of the Shattered Nightmare Abyss gathered towards him like maggots in a tarsal bone, wanting to crush him completely. Clang, clang, clang. The person was extremely impressive. The long sword in his hand instantly slashed out, and a burst of sword chi immediately burst forth. Moreover, the burst of sword chi actually accurately fell on the black wind of the Shattered Nightmare Abyss that was sweeping over from the surroundings. The sword chi was extremely sharp, and it neutralized the black wind of the Shattered Nightmare Abyss. The person slashed out again and again with sword chi all over his body. Although the black wind of the Shattered Nightmare Abyss above the abyss was terrifying, the person was able to accurately capture it and neutralize it with sword chi. There was no doubt that the person's talent in the way of the sword had reached an extremely terrifying level. The strength of each slash was extremely precise, and it was able to neutralize the energy of the Shattered Nightmare Abyss. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of sword chi colliding with the black wind of the Shattered Nightmare Abyss constantly resounded. The person was unstoppable, and like a long rainbow, he directly disappeared above the abyss. Yan Tianwei was still sitting on the futon in the sacrificial tower of the prophet's family. He faced the sacrificial altar in front of him, and his body exuded a quiet and peaceful aura. Goddess, that Jun actually entered the Shattered Nightmare Abyss. The man with the ghost mask slowly walked out from the shadows. He stared at the goddess, and his voice was solemn and low. This person is a variable. I knew it from the beginning. I originally wanted to use the Wind and Thunder clan and Ice Fire clan to get rid of him, but I didn't expect a variable to appear in the end. Yan Tianwei sighed softly. The eyes of the man with the ghost mask flickered, and he said in a deep voice, "Goddess, don't worry. I've already arranged for the Sword Slave to enter the Shattered Nightmare Abyss. I believe that with the Sword Slave's strength, that Jun will definitely die, and he will also bring back the origin of the Wind and Thunder Holy Talismans and Ice Fire Holy Talismans." Yan Tianwei frowned slightly. Her right thumb quickly tapped the other 4 fingers, but in the end she snorted and said, "I still can't figure out what's going on with this thing. His cultivation hasn't even reached the true immortal realm, but I can't figure out his past and future. It's really strange." "Goddess, don't worry. Why you still worried about the sword slave strength? He possesses the extremely rare physique of a sword cultivator, and he's a peerless genius that cultivates the sword. With your help, his cultivation has already attained the peak of the earthly immortal realm, but his combat strength might not even be able to defeat a heavenly immortal, said the man with the ghost mask. Yen Tianwei pondered deeply for a moment, and then she shook her head and said, I naturally believe in the sword slave's strength, but Juan has too many variables. I'm afraid other unexpected events might occur. The man with the ghost mask didn't mind at all and said, even if he's a variable, it's absolutely impossible for him to survive the pursuit of the sword slave. Goddess, you don't have to worry too much about it. We should be concerned about the Wind and Thunder clans and Ice Fire clans now. We've been planning for so long, and we've finally made the two clans go to war. Moreover, Feng Lei Wuji and Jiang Binghan have both suffered heavy losses in the end. This is the best opportunity to seize the Saint Talismans. The goddess nodded and said, Indeed. However, Feng Lei Wuji's injuries should be more serious. Moreover, the Wind and Thunder clan has suffered heavy losses this time, so their vigilance is extremely lax. Go seize the Wind and Thunder Saint Talismans first. The seclusion grounds of Feng Lei Wuji and Jiang Binghan are extremely secretive and remote. However, I was able to divine them out. Go to these two places. These two places are where Feng Lei Wuji and Jiang Binghan are secluding themselves. Chapter 1686. Twisting Thorns. Saint Talisman. The masked man took the jade slip. After checking it for a while, a cold smile appeared on his face. He said in a low voice, Feng Lei Wuji and Jiang Binghan are both seriously injured. Their cultivation base has also dropped. Now that we know where they are cultivating in seclusion, our chances of obtaining the Saint Talisman are not small. After all, these two are old monsters who have lived for many years. You can't let your guard down. We must obtain the Wind Thunder Saint Talisman and the Ice Fire Saint Talisman, Yen Tianwei said in a low voice. The masked man nodded. He took a step in the air and disappeared from Yen Tianwei's sight. Wind Thunder City was filled with a decadent atmosphere. As the patriarch of the Wind branch of the Wind Thunder clan, Feng Ruji was constantly dispatching his clansmen to rebuild Wind Thunder City. At this moment, in an extremely secluded courtyard of the Wind Thunder clan, there was an insignificant small temple. In this small temple sat an ordinary statue. A ghostly figure silently arrived in front of the small temple. This person wore a ghost mask and stared indifferently at the small temple in front of him. He murmured in a low voice, Such an ordinary small temple is actually the place where Feng Lei Wuji is cultivating in seclusion. If it wasn't for the goddess's guidance, I'm afraid I wouldn't have suspected this small temple. The devil-masked man's eyes revealed a pensive look. He was very clear that the wind and thunder had created a space within this small temple. If he wanted to enter this small temple, he would have to use a special hand seal to open the small space inside. As for the method to open the small temple, Goddess Yen Tianwei had naturally divined it with her great ability. At this moment, the 5 fingers of the devil-masked man's right hand quickly pointed out. Suddenly, a blood-red array pattern appeared on his fingertips. He quietly inserted the array pattern into the statue in the temple. Immediately, a gray vortex appeared between the statue's eyebrows. The devil-masked man quickly disappeared into the vortex. This was a gray world. Other than the gray color, there was only a gray lake that stretched as far as the eye could see. In the center of the lake was an island that was hundreds of meters wide. On the island stood a pavilion. At this moment, inside the pavilion, a middle-aged man who was sitting cross-legged suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze was like a torch as he stared at the man in the devil mask and coldly asked, "Who are you?" The masked man sneered, "Wind and thunder inanimate. I came here today for the wind and thunder saint symbol on your body. Give it to me, or you won't be able to keep your life." Feng Lei Wuji's complexion was gloomy, but there was a ball of fire burning in his heart. He was already unhappy with the battle with Jiang Binghan. Now, there was actually someone who dared to ask for the Wind Thunder Saint symbol in front of him. At this moment, Feng Lei Wuji's body was filled with killing intent. Die! In an instant, Feng Lei Wuji took out the wind and thunder saint symbol. His speed was as fast as lightning, and he appeared behind the masked man. His right claw reached out, aiming for the masked man's vital point. The man with the ghost face mask sneered. Suddenly, a terrifying black vortex appeared behind him. This vortex was like a black hole. It had an extremely terrifying suction force. The right claw of the wind and lightning Wuji was directly sucked into it. Puchi! Feng Lei Wuji's pupils shrank. He wanted to withdraw his right hand, but it was too late. The black cyclone suddenly closed and crushed his right hand. Feng Lei Wuji quickly retreated. His pupils shrank as he stared at the masked man in front of him. He stared at the black cyclone behind the masked man and asked in shock and anger, "Who are you?" "Feng Lei Wuji, you have been seriously injured in the battle with Jiang Binghan. Even your cultivation has fallen to the peak of the earth immortal realm. Even if you rely on this broken wind and thunder saint symbol, how much strength can you display? Today, you are destined to die." The masked man laughed wildly. Countless black cyclones erupted under his feet. His speed was even faster than teleportation. Feng Lei Wuji's face was filled with fear. He retreated again and again. At the same time, he formed a seal with both hands, planning to leave this place. But soon his face turned ugly. This small world he created was shrouded in strange black cyclones. The exit was blocked by the black cyclones, and he couldn't teleport out. "You can't get out. You are really pitiful." As the ancestor of the wind and thunder family and a peerless expert of the heavenly immortal realm, you have fallen to such a state. Perhaps you don't know that you are being used as a tool? The masked man walked over step by step. His tone was full of arrogance, but there was also a trace of pity. Feng Lei Wuji's eyes flashed. He suddenly recalled the ins and outs of everything. His heart turned cold. The timing of the Ice-Fire family coming to the Wind and Thunder family was too coincidental. What was more coincidental was that Jun had both the Ice-Fire Saint symbol and the Wind and Thunder Saint symbol. This coincidence caused Feng Lei Wuji to instantly feel that something was wrong. "You arranged this?" Feng Lei Wuji took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Old man, your reaction isn't slow. You figured it out so quickly. But there is no reward." As he spoke, the masked man jumped up. Suddenly, the black cyclones that covered the entire small world shrank toward the center. In an instant, the entire small world was wrapped in the black cyclones, falling into a pitch-black darkness. Feeling the endless darkness around him, Feng Lei Wuji's face turned pale. The masked man's aura was terrifying. He had probably reached the peak of the heavenly immortal realm. Even if Feng Lei Wuji wasn't injured, he might not be a match for this masked man. Wuji Feng Lei angrily roared out, struggling with all his might. But in that deep darkness, his roar seemed insignificant and insignificant. Outside a quiet small temple, a slender figure slowly walked out of the gray vortex. This person wore a mask. He looked at the statue in the small temple and murmured, "The Wind and Thunder Saint Talisman is in my hands. It's time to go to the Ice-Fire clan." The Ice-Fire clan's security was much stricter than the Wind and Thunder clans. In the Ice-Fire clan's Life Tablet Pavilion, there was a very solemn Life Tablet Pavilion. On the front of the Life Tablet were the words Jiang Binghan. This was the Life Tablet of the Ice-Fire clan's ancestor, Jiang Binghan. A black cyclone appeared in the Life Tablet Pavilion. Then the masked man stepped out. He stared at the Life Tablet Pavilion with cold eyes and said, "This Jiang Binghan is even more ruthless. He actually built his seclusion in his own Life Tablet. If it wasn't for the goddess, I wouldn't have been able to find this place." After speaking, the devil-masked man flicked his right hand and a thumb-sized black vortex appeared on the highest level Life Tablet. Soon after, he took a step forward and entered the black vortex on the Life Tablet. This was a world full of ice and fire. In the center of this world, there was a mountain that pierced the sky. The lower half of the mountain was burning, while the upper half was frozen. At the top of the mountain was an ice-fire palace. The man with the devil face mask laughed and waved his sleeve. Dense cyclones enveloped the world. At the same time, he flicked his finger and a cyclone shot out, sinking into the ice and fire palace. Boom! The ice fire palace exploded. The ice fire saint talisman above Jiang Binghan's head flew out. He stared coldly at the masked man in front of him. It seems that Brother Jiang has the upper hand in the battle with Feng Lei Wuji. Your injuries are lighter than Feng Lei Wuji's, the masked man said with a strange smile. Jiang Binghan frowned and said coldly, You went to Feng Lei Wuji's side? You were sent by Feng Lei Wuji? The masked man smiled faintly and said, Feng Lei Wuji has no right to order me around. I'm here to seize the Saint Talisman. I just took it from Feng Lei Wuji. Now, Brother Jiang, hand over the Ice Fire Saint Talisman. You killed Feng Lei Wuji? Jiang Binghan's pupils shrank as he said with fear. What do you think? But it seems that Brother Jiang doesn't intend to hand over the Saint Talisman. Then I have no choice but to take it by force. As he said that, the masked man stepped on the void with his right foot. A black cyclone condensed on his right foot. Then, his speed surpassed teleportation and he appeared behind Jiang Binghan. Jiang Binghan was not an ordinary person. With a roar, he took out the Ice Fire Saint Talisman and an Ice Fire Lotus burst out. Bang, bang, bang. The two instantly engaged in a fierce battle in the Ice Fire world. The aftermath of the battle shook the entire miniature world as if it could collapse at any time. The battle between the two became more and more intense. The miniature world began to collapse. Cracks appeared on the surface of the Life Tablet Pavilion that represented Jiang Binghan. The Ice Fire Saint Talisman is indeed worthy of its name. Although it is not complete, it can still exert such a powerful force. But this is the end. The masked man laughed and pointed at his forehead with his right hand. Suddenly, a pitch-black talisman floated above his Tianling acupoint. The talisman was pitch-black and faintly emitted a mysterious purple aura. The moment the talisman appeared, the black cyclones that covered the entire miniature world began to boil. Then, under the effect of the talisman, they gathered together and formed a huge black cyclone in the sky. The black cyclone was like a black hole. Its power was too terrifying. Just by floating in the sky, it could shatter the void into nothingness. The Revolving Thorn Saint Talisman? Your old ghost Situ from the Revolving Thorn clan? Jiang Binghan exclaimed with a gloomy face. The man with the devil mask laughed and said, Are you talking about Situ Weong? That old guy died a long time ago. It's just that you don't know. This Saint Talisman has been in my possession for thousands of years. After speaking, the masked man did not waste any more time. He pressed his right hand down and the terrifying black cyclone fell. Its momentum was too terrifying. It was as if the sky was falling down from the cyclone. Jiang Binghan roared and exerted all his strength to activate the Ice Fire Saint Talisman. The Ice Fire Lotus in the sky grew larger and more terrifying as it faced the black cyclone. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.